The Big 12 is just outside of KU. I think you can make a case for just about any team beating any other team on any given Saturday. As we get ready for this Big 12 season, what do you think is the most interesting storyline or storylines to keep an eye on?
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And they do. And Prescott's going to throw, and it's going to be caught. Throw in progress will be short. C.D. Lamb did not get to the line to gain.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Deep ball coming from Lewis behind coverage. Caught! First down and more Cajuns. Peter LeBlanc takes it all the way for a 78-yard score.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
And back for Klingberg. A wrist shot. Stopped by Leonard. The rebound. They score! Jamie Benn picks up the loose change. Under a minute left in the second period. Dallas with a 2-1 lead.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This Monday, September the 14th, and everything has now converged in sports, from college to pro football, high school football, week 4, and then, of course, the NBA playoff, Stanley Cup finals on the verge if the Stars win tonight. And then on top of that, you still have baseball in their stretch run. But there is so much to get to. Our guests today include a one-on-one with Dave Aranda today, just a little bit after 4. We'll hear from him on a couple of notes from today at his media press conference, an appeal of part of what he said to me in the one-on-one. Also, Dana Holgerson, part of what he had to say today. We'll look at the depth chart from one week to the next, look at the history between Baylor and Houston. Got a couple of former Houston greats that are going to be a part of the show this week, and one of them tomorrow is one of my favorite players growing up. And on top of that, the Cowboys have decimated injuries, or been decimated in a way by injuries, and yet they can't just lose a game. There's always got to be something that is the focus, other than the fact they lost the game. And high school football, I just saw this at Zach Robochik of Troy up again for Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week. Rinse and repeat for the next several weeks. Just copy and paste that. We'll get into that as well. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, I'm David Smoke. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Still no Xavier Newman. And, oh, by the way, they have a game this week against Houston.
Yeah, they do.
First time since 95, Southwest Conference days. Baylor won the last time like 47-7, a dominant win. Jeff Watson, I think, was the quarterback. But, Craig, the depth chart, no Xavier Newman, that makes sense because he was suspended for a game, and that means he gets suspended this week. But I did see, was Chidi or Yusuf Terry on the depth chart a week ago?
I don't believe so, and forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I think that rather than the depth chart, we need to speak about the game they got against Houston, because that was kind of like all coming together on Saturday. I mean, to me, that was the big news of the weekend, and yes, now we can start previewing and all that, but I think we got to touch on that a little bit because you were on that story. We've had Mack Rhodes on now a couple of times, and he was saying to us last week that they were scrambling. They were trying to find a game. He threw out Houston Baptist as a possibility, threw out 5 teams in total as possibilities. Who was the other one other than Houston Baptist?
It was East Carolina.
Yeah, East Carolina. And then, by Friday, we had people asking, like, hey, any word on a game? Any word on a game? And there was still nothing. And by Friday, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like it was dead in the water. Like there was no game.
He told me, in fact, Mack Rhodes did send me a note that he thought there was still, late in the day on Friday, right before we did the show from Mack People Stadium at Conley, that there was one more option, but it couldn't have been, I don't think it could have been Houston and Memphis, because Memphis didn't cancel till what, Saturday? Or when did they cancel? It was like, I guess, I don't know when it was.
It was all around the same time, basically.
Yeah, and so all of a sudden, I get a phone call Saturday. Bruce Feldman puts up a note that they're talking. I get confirmation almost immediately. And not only that, they're going to play them 3 times in the next several years. And it's going to be a home and home after this year. And this game's more – is this game more dicey than La Tech?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, Dana Holgerson's been a thorn in the side of Baylor, and I'm not one to really compare how he competed against Briles or how he competed against Rule and then say that's how he's going to compete against Aranda. But there is a lot of familiarity between these staffs. Aranda spoke on that at length today. I mean, he and Dana were on the Tech staff together, and there's a lot of connections there. But, yeah, I mean, Houston basically torpedoed their own season last year in many ways. And it backfired in that De'Aaron King still left. They tried to redshirt him. He left. He played for Miami the other night, and a couple other players left as well. But they basically redshirted their best players last year to set up for this year. So they didn't have a very good year. Now Clayton Tune, their quarterback's a junior. He's got some experience. They've got a bunch of transfers. And they've got more seniors than Baylor has for sure on these depth charts that have been released today. So, yeah, I think it's a tough challenge, especially on a little bit of short notice when, yeah, you still got the full week to prepare, but mentally you haven't been thinking about them at all the way you were thinking about Louisiana Tech. So, yeah, that was huge, and kudos to everybody involved. Jeremiah Dickey, Mack Rhodes, of course, on the Baylor side along with others, and then UH's People of Power. They both easily could have just walked away, said, hey, we're not playing this weekend, or UH could have held out hope for Memphis or whatever, but I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant on the part of these two teams to come together and play.
Since 2011, Houston's gone 13-1, 5-7, 8-5, 8-5, 13-1, 9-4, 7-5, 8-5, 4-8 wins against Florida State in the bowl game. Oklahoma to start the year when OU was high, beat Penn State in the Cotton Bowl. They have better bowl victories than Baylor does in the last decade, and Baylor's had some opportunities. Mart's Zamar Curvin, Midway's James Fulbright III, Belton's Garrison Vaughn, and Logan Hall are a part of the University of Houston roster, so there's a local touch there as well.
So did you and James Fulbright put this to get the ball rolling? Because I did see a tweet from him that basically – it did not kickstart this, but in a way, it kind of, if you didn't know any better, you would think that James Fulbright almost got this game.
It was his
going.
father. Yeah, it was his father who reached out and said, hey, how about Houston? We need a game. And I guess it was maybe late on Thursday or Friday. So it's Baylor and Houston. We're going to reflect back on the history when they played in the Southwest Conference. Last time they did was 95. We'll have that. Also look with a couple of former Baylor players during that series. And as I mentioned, a couple of greats from Houston as well, including Elmo Wright tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Who had the big high knee dance when he scored. We'll have him on tomorrow's show. Now,
yeah, hey, you did ask me about the depth chart, and really from what I noticed, there were a couple names. I think you pointed those out that were additions, but for the most part, it remained unchanged. Like all the starters are pretty much the exact same, so you would think that maybe there'd be a little bit of shuffling around, but it doesn't look like it as far as what we saw last week.
We're going to go over – this is going to be a rapid fire because there's so much to get to in college football and the NFL. But also our guest lineup, Joseph Duarte from the Chronicle. Houston Chronicle covers Houston. He'll join us at 3:30. Then we'll have Mart and Crawford back-to-back segments. They both remain undefeated with Kevin Hoffman and Greg Jacobs. Dave Aranda one-on-one at just after 4. Dave Parch, is that right? Mm-hmm. He's with the Daily Iberian. Paul recorded a segment with him. He covers ULL, or University of Louisiana, with that massive win against the hype machine of Iowa State. Boy, that's a bad loss. Listen, Baylor could lose to Houston, and it would be a loss, but that was – I don't think anyone saw that one coming because Iowa State is getting a lot of love because of Matt Campbell, and there's got to be a little heat on him.
Well, ULL had 10 wins last year, so it's not like they opened –
10 or 11,
They had 10 wins last year, so it's not like they – opened up with a cupcake, and Billy Napier is one of the hot coaches around, and he's going to get a lot of SEC buzz. The fortunate thing for ULL fans is, unless somebody really, 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 really stinks this year or does something really stupid and gets fired because they got Me Too'd or whatever, there's not going to be a lot of jobs open because schools are already cutting programs and they don't want to have to pay massive buyouts to coaches that they're not going to pay or they're not going to have working there. So he might be there for another year, but that team's good, and they play great defense. They have a lot of speed on special teams, and Iowa State is not very fast, and that's a problem.
There are certain levels of football that the last 10 or 12 years, really almost since Appalachian State beat Michigan, and that was, 20 years ago, that there's just games that these teams can play, man. Ever since – Really, it's been an attrition over the last 25 or 30 years, the 85-man scholarship limit. But there are teams that are in certain conferences, in certain places, in certain states that just flat out have talent. In some cases are faster and more athletic than some of the Power 5 schools. Maybe not as deep, but their skill people are great in certain areas. Let's go ahead. You're going to say one more thing. College football, Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia, Florida. Saw a small bit of Spencer Rattler. He looks like the part. I mean, they lose a lot of people. And, again, I know it was against a team that they should beat by 100, but he does look the part of an Oklahoma quarterback.
He's got a fantastic arm. He's got great accuracy. He's got the moxie or the swagger, however you want to refer to it. Maybe too much of that, quite frankly, if you watch the Netflix series that he was a part of. I know my sister in particular does not like Spencer Rattler because of how he came across on that TV show. But as far as arm talent, he's got it. Way better than Jalen Hurts as far as that goes, and maybe one of the best they've had, which is saying a lot. I know we'll go over all the Big 12, but they did what they were supposed to do, just like Texas did, and they avoided what Iowa State and K-State ran into and what Tech almost ran into.
Yeah, Sam Ehlinger had a monstrous game, his first game in that new offense, right? And he had a monster game. He's the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. Let's see here. Okay. Jamon Osborne, who is probably as good a weapon as A&M had. He's going to opt out.
Their best offensive player.
He's opting out.
Yes.
He was a former Baylor commit, wasn't he, Craig, back when Browse was around?
He was a part of that 2016 class that fell apart. He was committed at one point in time along with Kellen Mond, Baron Browning, who's at Ohio State, Kedrick James, the tight end from La Vega, who's now at SMU, etc. Jalen Petrie, the only one still remaining, who's now a starter for Baylor. But, yeah, that's surprising and very weird timing, but I guess it's something that he's been weighing on. I'm kind of surprised, Paul, just because I don't think of him as just a straight-to-the-NFL guy like that, but I've also not been tracking the 2021 draft already, so maybe he's that highly coveted.
Well, he's, 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah, he's good.
Big, strong, fast guy. I mean, he
went to IMG. Yeah. I think he was a guy at IMG with Kellen Mond. All right, Ohio State lost another player, Shaun Wade, opting out of the season. That's two elite players already for them.
They've had, I think, more than that. That's like two recently.
Kansas has now lost 100 games since 2010.
Jesus.
And they were dominated by Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, they were knocked all around. I'll tell you this about Ohio State. Why do you think Ryan Day's writing letters?
Oh, yeah.
Because he's having these conversations with guys every other day. Yep. Another guy comes to him and goes, Coach, if we don't have something. And so he's trying to tell him, he's trying to throw water from the boat right now. And until the Big Ten tells him, no, we've got a plan, it's just going to keep coming in.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go over quickly at some point. It was a weird weekend of college football. I know, Paul, that yours was not good, but there were teams, not just Kansas or not just Iowa State or others, that went down. Matt Roberts of Channel 44 here in Waco are reporting that Cameron Yost shutting down a practice for one day after a positive test by a student-athlete. The student and their contacts have been quarantined. They plan to resume practice tomorrow. Lorena, at the last second, remember, on Friday shut down a game. Now, here's the thing. Yo is playing Lexington this week in one of the showboat games around the Central Texas area. There are some mega games. Argyle, La Vega, Lampasas, and China Spring are playing in two unbeaten teams. We know how good both of them have been, and China Spring smoked Brownwood. So that's one of the things. We'll have updates on the high school football players of the week at 4:45? Is that right when we do that? Now, Cowboys. They hung around, and it was amazing to me that they actually ever took the lead because they were being gashed by the Rams early on. And I didn't even realize. I walked away, I guess, and didn't even realize the Rams had missed a field goal. I thought it was 10-0. Then I look up, and it's 10-7 after they kick another field goal. Their defense gave up right up the gut. They couldn't stop the Rams on third down. Dak could not keep drives alive on third down. The play to CeeDee Lamb was a brilliant scheme by the Rams, which we all looked at that video of what they did, the Rams did. That's crazy good.
Well, it's really more just Jordan Fuller.
Well, no, that was planned. That was something that because the pick plays are killing defenses, right? But, Jordan Fuller just made a great play. Leighton Vander Esch is out 6 to 8 weeks. Blake Jarwin out for the year.
Man.
And then also it's the Cam Irving,
who didn't start, which was kind of a surprise, but now they're kind of stuck with Terrence Steele For better or for worse, for at least the next 2 weeks until Lyle Collins comes back.
And they have Collins out for a couple of weeks, and Sean Lee's still out for another couple of weeks. But Cam Irvin, might be out with an MCL sprain for another 2 to 4 weeks.
He's a Florida State guy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, with Van Der Esch, I mean, he's starting to unfortunately get that Sean Lee tag now. He's already starting to become the next Sean Lee, and not that what you thought originally, like he's Sean Lee but healthy. No, now he's Sean Lee. He's not healthy, and that's brutal. That's brutal for him. That's brutal for the Cowboys. With the offensive line, I've been saying all along that this team is loaded up to go on a Super Bowl run, and you or Paul have said at times, like, yeah, that offensive line, though, and I haven't been as concerned about it because it's, as much a health issue as anything, so eventually it'll settle down. But, man, it is a problem right now. Like, there's no doubt that it's going to cost them early on if they're not careful, and it already cost them that first game. So that Van Der Esch injury is brutal. What was the other one you just mentioned? Jarwin. That's oh my gosh, they are screwed.
A guy that I thought should have gotten more last year. He makes big plays,
and his backup comes in.
Anytime you see a guy go down with a non-contact, is bad.
Yeah, but his backup comes in, and it was not good.
Dalton Schultz is a blocker.
Yes,
he's not a catcher. He's not a guy who's gonna make it. He had that one nice catch last night, and I was like, oh look, he caught the ball. But that's the reason he's been relegated to the spot that he is. And Blake Bell's the other tight end, but Blake Bell is a blocking tight end.
He's the leverage guy. So that's going on. And now they have, of course, they turn around and play this week. But Philadelphia's can't protect Carson Wentz. Washington's defense front 6 or 7 are really good. Other than that, I don't know how they won the game. But Carson Wentz is lucky to survive that game. Physically still be alive.
Well, I think the Redskins have a really good D-line. I mean, they should. They've been building on it for years now at this point.
5 first-round picks.
Yeah, Deron Payne and Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Chase Young already has started his Defensive Rookie of the Year campaign after yesterday. So I think, then you have a veteran like Ryan Kerrigan. The Redskins are loaded for bear on the defensive line, and they're potentially going to be really nasty. I don't think that was a flash in the pan. I think that is kind of a sign of things to come for them. Now, they're not going to get, crazy amounts of sacks every week necessarily, but that Eagles O-line is banged up, much like the Cowboys. So they had like half their starters out, so I'm sure that mattered a little bit, but at the same time, I do think there is something to this Redskins defense.
Well, we'll see, because Dallas still seems to be the favorite. This means that someone like the Giants will sneak up, and we'll find out tonight a little bit about them. All right, one other note. Paul, let's use you want to break and then come back with Aranda, then Joseph Duarte? Do we have 4 breaks in the second hour or the first?
We have 4 breaks in the second hour.
All right, so here's Dave Aranda. It was really interesting how he used the question from Sam Kahn about how Mack Rhodes and Jeremiah Dickey and Baylor and Houston put together this game so, not quickly, but how they were able to get this done. And here's the question about finding games late in the process compared to games 10 years out. And listen to where Aranda went with the analogy.
Hey, Dave, I'm curious with as quickly as this came together, do you think college football could benefit from scheduling a little bit more short intervals as opposed to some of the long-term scheduling that we see now? What are your thoughts on that?
I could see where that could be from a fan perspective. I could see the benefit in that. I could see that. There's a little bit of I remember, and I don't know if I should be saying this here, but, I spoke to some of the coaches about it earlier. Was, when I was growing up, I was a big baseball card collector, and when I was a little kid, and so it was really important. Like, I have a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, and, even before that, hey, here's a George Brett, or, here's a Fernando Valenzuela. And it just felt like as we were going through this process of like, hey, I've got a Steve Sachs, right? Can I trade you for a Steve Marshall? It just felt like we were trading baseball cards a little bit. And that was just very weird for me. And I'm glad that it worked out. But I think from a coaching perspective, you're such a planner by nature, and you're so organized, and hey, this is what we're doing, 9 months from now, man, you know what I mean? And so when it gets to something like this, it kind of, it shakes you a little bit. And so we'll take it because it's what we need right now. But I can see that from a fan perspective, from a coaching perspective. You like to have things kind of laid out.
Because there are games that are planned for 10 years from now. And that's kind of the way it is. Get them set. It depends on your philosophy. Get your 1 or 2 games you play at home, or a couple of games you play at home if you're Power 5 especially, and then one game that's going to test you that might be home and away, or even a game that's, a road game. And I would love to have had Houston on the schedule for the last 20 years, not just now because of this, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, I don't know if these two teams would have come together if not for the circumstances, but I think one part of that announcement on Saturday that was awesome that you mentioned was that they said, hey, this isn't going to be just a one-time deal. We're going to go ahead and tack a couple games onto this and make it a series. So that's another great opponent that they've got in this non-con that's already been laid out really well for about the next 10 years. And I saw the comment a ton on Saturday from like 20 different people of, shows you how easy this is. You just, we don't have to schedule these games 10, 15 years out. I think that's a little bit foolish. This is more out of need and like urgency rather than, doing it normally.
This was lucky. There's a luck. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you don't know that you could do, but when you've got a gun to your head like they did about like, get this done or you're both not going to play for 2 weeks.
Sure.
There was some desperation involved here. And so both these schools had to, and look, Mac's relationship with Houston probably – greased the skids of that a lot, considering that he used to be there. So, but even still, it's still scheduling a football game, the logistics that go into it. And I think part of this for Houston, coming on the road in a week has to be the fact that they don't have to, book a plane and a bunch of, like you're in a hotel, but they don't have to do a lot of the things that they would have to do if this was, even like say Colorado or something like that.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. You never know how this might change things up. But if you look at Baylor's next few years and you start adding a Houston or someone like that into the mix, and of course there was the SMU as a possible option, and quite frankly, with all the COVID thing, it makes sense to play closer. But this was all about just Memphis backed out, Houston at an opening, Baylor needed something. And it worked.
Well, then the SMU thing, too, they could have technically scheduled SMU, but they would have been doing so on incredibly short notice. Like, that would have been a couple of days to prepare. That wouldn't have been a full-blown week. And so I like the fact that, I know that they went and looked at other teams and maybe had a lesser team popped up. They would have said, yes, let's go with you guys. But Houston's what they ended up with. It's a great matchup. It's on par with SMU, in my opinion. And, you've got enough time to feel good about having some preparation. That SMU thing, if they would have done that, that would have been so thrown together. I don't think that would have ended up being really good for them in the long run.
Yeah, that could have been hurt bad for both teams. Also, here's Dave Aranda. In the trading card things, I couldn't resist. I came back with a question a little bit later on about him. Has he ever, gone after some of the great cards of all time? But what do you think – you guys, in 10 or 12 seconds, what do you think his biggest fear was as his football team once the game with Louisiana Tech was canceled?
I would be worried that they got depressed and went and hung out with their friends or something.
Yeah, that would have been probably number one would be that. I don't know.
Well, when I asked him the question.
Obviously.
Go ahead, Paul.
Xavier Newman still doesn't play this week since you didn't play against Louisiana Tech. Are you pretty good health-wise when it comes to battling COVID injury-wise? Did the extra week help get somebody back that wouldn't have been there?
We're good. Yeah, I feel our guys have done a great job, and I'm proud of them. And I think obviously you get the concern for me comes with negative news, with the game getting postponed right away. The first thought I've got is COVID-19. Is guys just, dealing with frustrations, trying to get together, talk about this, gripe about that, go here, go there, go home maybe. And so, a lot of the issues that we've had, COVID-19, has been people kind of leaving our bubble. And so we've talked quite a bit about staying in, but everything's connected, and everything matters. And so when that news happened on Tuesday, it's the first thing I thought about, and so so far so good. It's crazy. You just see the landscape of it and see these teams playing without 20, 30 of their folks, and so it looks like that's just how it is.
That makes sense. depressed, in a way that you're disappointed, you go hang with your guys. You go home because you're not going to play, which is something he mentioned, even though they're going to have like a practice or a scrimmage on Saturday. And you start getting around other people. I mean, you're not going to play for a while. Why not? So that was his biggest concern, and that's where you are now. That's where you have the biggest concern would be, what otherwise. So there you are with that as well. We're also, by the way, Jordan Whittington, that really talented redshirt freshman from Texas. Last year he was out for the year early on and missed almost the entire season. Just saw a note that he has a slight tear, a small tear of his lateral meniscus, and will have to be out for maybe a few weeks. You just can't get him healthy either.
Well, this is why you are free, by all means, to get really hyped up about certain recruits, certain players, and things like that. But this is the other side of it, And so I've heard so much about Jordan Whittington. I've seen a small sample size, and what I've seen has been good. But, one thing not accounted for sometimes with guys, because you can't really account for it, is the injury bug. And certainly it's bit him a few times so far in his college career.
When we come back, Joseph Duarte for the Houston Chronicle, he will he covers Houston. His thoughts about this game from their perspective. Mart and Crawford coaches at 3:45. Dave Aranda just after 4. High school coaches or players of the week at 4:45. And also Jeff Traylor at UT San Antonio got a dramatic win against Texas State. He'll join us at 5 and much more. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC, Cadillac. The savings continue on. Richard Carr, a dealership for the people. They've got you in mind, of course, as always, as they are looking to provide you with the best customer service when you're looking to buy a vehicle. And not only the best customer service, but of course, that also means great deals as well. They had the summer savings event going on for what felt like a really long time, but now it is the kickoff savings event. The kickoff savings event where you can save thousands off a variety of vehicles, and that includes various lines. That includes, of course, the Cadillacs, the XT6s, 7-passenger if you're looking for more roomy size sedan, or you can get those smaller with the XT4s or the XT5s. But regardless, if you're looking for a Cadillac SUV, if you want to get that exhilarating feeling of driving a Cadillac, well, you can check out the XT4, XT5, or the 7-passenger Cadillac XT6 right now, starting at $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. Find one of the best sedan values on the market with the exhilarating 2020 Cadillac CT4, starting at $32,995 as well. They also have the line of Buicks, full of room and full of luxury. All 2020 3-row Buick Enclaves are $8,000 off right now. You can also save $6,000 off the roomy 3-row 2020 GMC Acadia and $8,000 off a 2020 GMC Sierra during the Richard Carr Kickoff Savings Event. They've got big selection, great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, VIP priority warranty service on all vehicles purchased at Richard Carr, and they stand by to support all of their customers with award-winning service because they are the people that you can count on. A local family dealer run by Baylor alumni. Check out the line of Buicks. Check out the line of GMCs. All thousands of dollars off right now during the kickoff savings event. And stop by their daily disinfected showroom or see their safety-focused staff outside of the dealership as they will bring the test drive to your home because your comfort and safety is their first priority. Find more information and find them online at richardcarr.com or Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lakeview Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
We'll hear from Baylor's Dave Aranda one-on-one at just after 4 o'clock. Baylor in Houston Saturday. It's a 11 o'clock kick. The game with KU the following week is going to be in the evening, a kick against the Jayhawks, who were beaten by Coastal Carolina. And we'll hear from Joseph Duarte from the Chronicle here just momentarily. The Matt Rule's debut. Lost to the Raiders in a very competitive game, 34-30. But, Craig, you mentioned this. He went very conservative. It's kind of a play that sometimes works on fourth and short, but he took the ball out of the hands of the most valuable, possibly the most valuable player in the league in McCaffrey.
Yeah, just a really puzzling decision by Matt Rule and his staff, and I guess really Joe Brady. I mean, that's his offensive coordinator who came over from LSU. So, at the end of the day, to use a Matt Rule term there, Rule did say in his post-game press conference that, it's all on him, it's all on his shoulders. But, they decided to go on fourth and short with, game on the line type of situation to try and be tricky, I guess, and say, hey, you all probably think Christian McCaffrey is going to get the football here, so instead we're going to give it to our fullback. And, well, it did not work. It didn't even really come all that close to working. And, I just think that's, one of those things you learn from. It was, it's easy to judge, and it's easy to say give the ball to Christian McCaffrey, but those are smart guys getting paid millions of dollars, and sometimes they make bad decisions too. So it's something that they will, I'm sure, build off of. But hey, they came very close to having an opportunity to win that game. Coming down to that play, they were in it, and just tough. But like I said during the break, it's not as bad as losing to Liberty right out of the gates. We know how that turned out, so I think the Panthers will be fine.
All right, so I had him on the phone, and then the call dropped, and now it's going right to voicemail. So I'm working on it.
Okay, boy, we have a sledgehammer of guests coming up. So we got the Mark Crawford segments coming up too, and then a veranda at just after 4. Joseph Duarte, who's been on the show, we've had him before, who covers the University of Houston, will join us pretty soon. Also, the rest of the Big 12 this week, it's a very quiet week because this was the week that was the off week for most everybody, because you would have a game last weekend and then an off week, and then you start conference play. Houston and Baylor, of course, will be 11 o'clock at McLean Stadium. And then Tulsa plays at Oklahoma State, who did not play last weekend. Might have been a good week for some not to play. Tulsa, Philip Montgomery, former Baylor offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State and Stillwater. That game will kick off Saturday at 6:30. But it was because of the focus of smaller teams beating Power 5 teams, and especially with Iowa State getting so much love, it was, and even Kansas and Coastal Carolina, that's not an upset. But, I'm the one that bit into the Les Miles year 2 has time to make things better. And Grayson told me the other day, David, they're terrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They had nothing.
And in Kansas State, let's not forget that one, because they had the lead early on. We're over at the studio watching that game. And then all of a sudden, it's okay. And then you turn around and they're getting beat.
Well, it wasn't a good weekend for the Big 12. I mean, bottom line, it wasn't. Texas and Oklahoma looked very good and doing what they needed to do. Sam Ehlinger and this new offense has got everybody all excited down in Austin. Their defense played pretty well, didn't give up but 3 points. I'll say this, UTEP is a horrible, horrible football team. Oklahoma did everything they needed to do. Spencer Rattler looked great. Defense shut them out. So Missouri State's not a very good football team. So they did what they needed to do. But the rest of the conference, it was a good week for Baylor, I think, to not play, actually, and to kind of get a dose of what everybody else is dealing with and learn from it.
Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle, covers the University of Houston, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Joseph, what was your reaction? I know there was some smoldering, simmering that Houston and Baylor might be something, but most likely the odds were not much. What was the reaction down in Houston, or those who are around Houston, when they were able to get the game, and also it's Baylor?
I think the first reaction was, what took so long? It's been 25 years, and I know a lot of people, Houston's got an older fan base, and they really live up the rivalries, the old Southwest Conference days. So people were excited. I think the funny thing in all this, you see these schools that plan games and series 10 years out, and they work on stuff. The fact that this could get together in less than 24 hours was amazing. So I think it went from, we don't have a game this week. What are we as fans going to do, to saying not only did they get a game, but they got a quality opponent and someone that a lot of people down here are familiar with.
Joseph, what does this team realistically look like, Houston, this year? And this is a really tough game for Baylor to start out with, but do you expect, after everything that happened last year, to this team to be pretty much ready to go?
Well, they better, because they really they set themselves up for a lot of second guessing. Dana Holgorsen, they went the red shirt route. They ended up losing their quarterback, who they thought would come back, but realistically he probably was never coming back, by using the 4-game NCAA rule. So what they've done is they've loaded up at positions in terms of experience and depth. So there should be a realistically, you would think there'd be a jump from year one under Holgorsen to year 2. I think what you'll see from this Houston team is, from what we don't know, but now is better, is like the secondary. They've added at least 6 new pieces that are in the 2 deep, and a lot of them are from Power 5 schools that came in as transfers. And then you look at the rest of the team, and you have the regulars. You have Clayton Tune at quarterback. He's going into his first full season as a starter, but has a lot of experience. And then you look at Marquez Stevenson. He's the guy, number 5, to watch on Saturday, because if he gets open or he gets a step on someone, there's not going to be many, if anybody, on the field that can catch him.
Defensively, what are the Cougs looking at? I know that was a bit of a struggle here as of late. What kind of adjustments, additions, so forth? You mentioned the secondary with a lot of D1 transfers, but what are you expecting defensively?
Well, the report out of camp has been the front, the defensive front, is much, much improved. You know, last year, between being banged up and just not having bodies available through recruiting and not getting transfers, they just weren't very good. There's much better players in place. Just to let you know, I mean, there's a guy that's in the middle at nose guard. His name's Chidozie Nwako. He decided he was going to wear number 10, which belonged to Ed Oliver. And if you're going to pick that number and you ask Ed Oliver for permission, you better live up to it. He cracked the two deep, and he's listed as a co-starter. So that will be a guy to watch playing his first collegiate game. And then the big one, Brant Stewart. He was the nickel last year, leading tackler, high-intensity guy all over the place. I mean, he's really the heart and soul of the defense. They moved him to that weak side linebacker now, so they want to see how that works. He's better suited to play that, and that just shows the kind of the depth that they have. They have a transfer from West Virginia, Giovanni Stewart, who Baylor will be familiar with from playing against the Mountaineers. He's now the nickel. So there's really the main word out of spring was competition, and the depth chart today showed it with a lot of new faces.
Yeah, and some of those new blood, that helps, and especially as you mentioned with the transfers in the secondary as well. So their quarterback, because of the De'Ara King issue, Clayton Tune, and obviously he had another year of experience and looks like he can make some plays. Tell us a little bit more about him.
Well, this was a kid that you really felt bad for him because the plan was to redshirt him from the beginning. His first year, De'Ara King goes down towards the end of the season. He has to come in, and then they make a bowl game. So do you play him in the bowl game? That would be his fifth game. They had to play him. It was the Army game. He gets sacked 10 times, and they lose 70-14 in Fort Worth. Last year, he comes in. He's going to be the backup. He's finally going to get the red shirt. De'Ara King decides, I'm going to red shirt. Clayton Tune comes in, gets hurt, really never the same the whole season, but he plays in 7 games. So now it's his time. He's not looking over the shoulder. There's nothing that's barring him from being the guy. And then he's going to get his year back because this year doesn't count. So he'll basically have 2 more full seasons after this one. So they're really set at quarterback. And this is a guy, he fits Holgerson's air raid system. He's a tall, strong arm guy who really can chunk it down the field. He has good vision, excellent reads. So I'm interested to see how much getting in the film room and being under Holgerson for an entire year and not having to rush like they did last year will benefit Clayton Tune in year 2.
Joseph, just with the craziness of this all, was Houston able to get full spring football in?
Oh, they got more than most people in the country. They had about 9 practices before everything got shut down.
Okay, so Holgerson returning, a lot of new faces. Baylor did not have spring ball, although they've had a bit to practice now. Also, the fact that it's a new coaching staff. I mean, kind of what is like the Houston expectation or the Houston take on Baylor as an opponent, and from what you've gathered. Right.
Well, you look at it. You on one side, you talk to Baylor folks, and you want a game before you start your conference, but you don't necessarily maybe want a team like Houston just because they're one of the better group of 5s over the years. And then you look at Houston, and this probably sets up much better for you than Memphis in terms of going to the conference and seeing a team that you've had problems with over the years. They're excited, and I think that's going to be a big part of this. They're pumped up for the game. They feel like they can compete, and they really have something to prove after what happened last year. So the sense that we're getting around the program right now is that, there's a lot of respect for Baylor. They're a Power 5 program, but Houston feels that they can go toe-to-toe. And if you're a fan and you're Houston, you start thinking about what happened in 1995 and before that with how the Southwest Conference shook out. And a few years ago, Houston flirted and presented their presentation to the Big 12 about joining them, and then nobody got invited in. So there's a lot of backstories to this game on Saturday.
Yeah, like when TCU initially was left out of the Big 12, and they kind of
Right.
held that against everybody. When they had a chance to play Baylor for the first time, they took it out of them. Quite frankly, just crushed them the 2010. Joseph, thanks for your time. I mean, they've beaten Florida State, Penn State, and Oklahoma in the last, I guess,
And
10
Louisville.
years. And Louisville in the last
They
10
sacked
years.
Lamar Jackson 11 times.
Yeah, so it's not like they haven't been playing well, and I bet their record the last 10 decades matches up with Baylor and most anyone else in the state of Texas among the Power Five. Thanks for your time, and we'll probably, I guess, maybe even have you on again or at some point this year.
Yeah, let me know, game day or before that. Anytime. I love Central Texas and Waco, so give me a holler.
You got it. Thank you. That's Joseph Duarte, the Houston Chronicle, with us on the University of Houston, the reaction from there on the game with Baylor. March, Kevin Hoffman, Crawford's Greg Jacobs, both undefeated, 4:05 or so. My conversation with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI, lowering the cost of health care on what otherwise can be very expensive. An MRI, something to find out what is hurting you or something to find out exactly what is the problem where you have pain that's more than just bumps and bruises. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable, that's ideal. On average, an MRI can cost $1,100 or more. That's on average. Their cost $497 or less. Why ideal MRI? Really smart doctors that come from places like John Hopkins Hospital or Stanford and have specialty training in the area of your scan. That means your brain MRI will be ready be read by a neurologist. In your knee MRI by a musculoskeletal radiologist. Their physicians at Ideal MRI will provide your doctor with a full report. Call them immediately with the results. And here's what I experienced when I had mine a few months back. I went through the process of getting set up. I checked in, met the Texan specialist. I went through the MRI. I got my results back. I got a call from Dr. Rob Maxey that evening, and then they sent me a CD or whatever you'd call it, a disc, with all of what I needed to share online through the technology with Dr. David Haynes at Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, who'd done my shoulder surgery 5 years ago, and that was my right shoulder. This was an MRI on my left, and everything, well, as you can imagine, at my age, things are not the same. So it's that easy. It's great. The MRI machine right in the middle of Central Texas Marketplace, idealmri.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Dodge is the highest-ranked brand in initial quality according to J.D. Power. Now at Allen Samuels, get special offers on Dodge cars and SUVs. Dodge Charger SXTs are now available with 2.9% financing for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Dodge Journey has 2.9 for 72 or choose up to $4,750 in cash and subprime offers. Performance. Dodge from Allen Samuels.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hi, this is Mart High School football coach Kevin Hoffman, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new Sikkim 365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Mart Panthers football coach Kevin Hoffman is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine, First National Bank of Central Texas.
Being able to get these games in right now, when you looked at one point you had maybe 1 or 2 in non-district, how important has it been to be able to fill the schedule?
Oh, it's important, that we get to play games against anyone, really, before we hit our district schedule. It doesn't matter who, what classification, up, down, whatever it is. We're just happy to be able to play some games and find some opponents.
So who is Whitney? The team that absolutely hammered Robinson? Or a week later, they were taken to the cleaners on Friday by Rogers.
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 million question. We got both the game films, and they look like 2 totally different teams. And I don't know if that's on Whitney or is it on Robinson and Rogers, the types of teams that they are. So we're gonna prep the best we can for everything that they do, and us, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna do what we do, no matter who the opponent is.
You mentioned last week that Rodrell had kind of gotten hit in the jaw, like chin, and that he just go play defense, do what you do. He was okay. He seemed to be more than healthy.
Yeah, he's well, he's still a little banged up. it's been a tough stretch of games for us playing these bigger schools, and he takes a pounding. We ask a lot of our quarterback in our running game, so and then he's playing defensive end every snap, so he's gonna take a pounding. But he's doing all right. And then the game against Anahuac, he threw for 200 yards and rushed for 100. So we need those kind of outputs out of Rodrell.
You had 11 tackles behind the line of scrimmage. That does not include the pressures on the quarterback. Your defense got after it, winning 46-14. Where do you compare them, or do you like to compare what you have right now defensively, what you've had these last 3 years when you've won a state title?
Oh, they're comparable. They're a lot of the same kids, and so especially off last year's team. But we think highly of our defense, and we have for the last 4 or 5 years that we've been on a pretty good run, and it's all because of how well we play defense, and the emphasis that Coach Martin puts on these kids to play hard and pursue and get after people, and that's my mindset as the head coach, is that if we play great defense, we're always going to have a chance. And whether we score 14 points or 20 points or we score 60 points, if we play great defense, you're always going to have a chance to win games.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trust, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Your thoughts about the Hornets?
Hi, this is Crawford AD head football coach Greg Jacobs, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Crawford Pirates football coach Greg Jacobs is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine, MP Electric.
Greg, you've started out very well. Obviously, you dominate the game with Axtell, and I guess we're about to find out two of the better teams at your level, because Holland and Crawford are both rolling right now, and they've gotten the best of you the last couple of years. Your thoughts about the Hornets?
Well, Holland's got a very good football team. They're strong on both sides of the ball. Defensively, they're really solid. They're really.
All right, there's a little bit of double audio going. Paul's going to try to get that fixed in a second. A little bit after 4 o'clock today, Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda will try to get back to the Greg Jacobs interview, the head coach at Crawford, in just a moment. The high school games that I mentioned, some of the better games that are this week, and Lorena's going to be able to play. Remember, they had to shut down a game at the last second. Lorena will play, and so that's good news. But we mentioned that Yo's going to have no practice today, hopefully back to work after a COVID test and tracing and all that they should be back on track. They play Lexington. Now, Yo lost the game a couple of weeks ago to Belleville. Lexington has Jared Kerr and others. And, Belleville raced for over 300 and some yards rushing against them. And that was Reese, the running back. And that's what Lexington does very well. And that's not all they do. Yo's still the favorite in that game, but that'll be one to watch. We'll have the players of the week here in about an hour. But La Vega and Argyle. And La Vega does what they do. They find a way, even with the injury to Aaron Rawls III. You knew that Jordan Rogers, we just knew that he was going to get involved, right? And he did. We even mentioned that last week. They opened up with nickel at quarterback and then went to Rogers, and they end up winning the game. Jarquay Walton had a big game, especially a huge, almost a game-sealing run of 71 yards. Glen Rose, unbeaten, plays at two-time defending champion Grandview. Grandview will be the favorite, but that's an intriguing game. Salado at Mejia. Salado mauled Stephenville. Mauled them. And Mejia got their first win. That's a really nice win for them against Navasota. Tristan Abram will win there, and he'll win pretty quickly. That will be a tough one with a matter of the pounding style of Salado and the speed of Mejia. Holland at Crawford is another one. We're about to talk about that. And then Lampasas game at China Spring is probably one of the best games in the state. Greg Jacobs.
Greg, you've started out very well. Obviously, dominate the game with Axtell. And I guess we're about to find out two of the better teams at your level because Holland and Crawford are both rolling right now. And they've gotten the best of you the last couple of years. Your thoughts about the Hornets?
Well, Holland's got a very good football team. They're strong on both sides of the ball. Defensively, they're really solid. They're really aggressive. They play with a lot of passion. Offensively, they've changed a little bit this year. That fits their personnel a little better, I think, for this year, and they've utilized it very well and very effective with it. So it's going to be a big challenge for us, but we're looking forward to it.
You put up 62. You had 39 against Bruceville, Eddie, and obviously they're pretty good, and you shut out Goldthwaite. Do you know who you are right now?
Well, we're starting to come together, I think. Offensively, we're kind of learning, the ins and outs of what we're trying to do, and I think the kids are really putting forth a lot of effort to try to get better each and every week, and so I think we're coming together offensively and defensively. We've been very fortunate. We've played really well, really solid. And so, I think we're starting to come together and become more of one unit.
Have you been surprised? I know nothing has been smooth. You had the player who, of course, had the injury because of the dehydration, and then that was a scary moment. But overall, you kind of look up, and here we are in week 4.
I know it, and we're thankful for every week that we get. We look forward to each and every day we can get out and practice and look forward to each game that we get to play. So, we've been very fortunate, and hopefully we'll keep up that good fortune.
This is your first year. You got Crawford blood in you. There's no question about it. But 3 games into it, how do you feel yourself?
Well, I feel like the kids are really committed this year. They're playing really well together. I think they're realizing that, the potential is there. They've just got to get the most out of themselves and rely on each other. So, it's really been good so far.
That is Crawford head coach Greg Jacobs here on Sikkim 365 Radio as they have the matchup with Holland next week. When we come back in the 4 o'clock hour, Smokies sit down with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Bird Culchin Ford. In Waco since 1936, the number 1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. BK Ford proudly supports high school football and will be announcing our players of the week, which they are the sponsor of in about and less than an hour. No better way to tailgate than a Ford from BK Ford. Locally owned dealership, online at bkford.com, 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. The annual tent sales going on right now. That's Bird Culchin Ford, locally owned since 1936, right here in Waco. And the Ford Tough Player of the Week and the Bird Culchin Ford Player of the Week comes up at 4:45. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford, our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week. Locally owned dealership, online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. The annual tent sales going on right now.
Let's face it, some people just like driving around in the nude. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters to talk about those truck owners that know they have naked trucks but simply don't care. You'll hear them saying something like, I'm just driving around free and easy, nothing constricting me. Gross. But there is something that can entice almost any naked truck owner. Leather. I mean, they kind of go together, right? And Pickup Outfitters is an authorized dealer and professional installer of cat skin leather seats. So I'm asking you to do your part and help us end truck nudity. The next time you're near your naked truck owner friend, you can say something like, you know what would really be sexy on your truck? Leather. And they'll get that sly smile, and you know you've hit them in their weak spot. Pickup Outfitters installs factory matching leather kits or custom kits in just about any color combination for your truck or even car. It's the sexy thing to do. You can be part of the problem, or you can create a commotion with cat skin leather seats at Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And oh, there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7, and personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Back, second down and 9. Swing it to the outside. Elliott stays in bounds, and Zeke's going to take it all the way in for a touchdown.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
So Dave Aranda on Mondays at 11 o'clock has a Big 12 teleconference, as do all the coaches, and it runs for about an hour and a half as everybody gets about 8 to 12 or 15 minutes. And then he does his regular weekly media session on Zoom, which used to be at the bank when the coaches have done it there before. That's at 11:35. And then I'm fortunate enough in between all that to have a chance to sit down and interview him. And I hate it this year, not that I appreciate the access, because it's so much different than when you sit in the office of a coach. That's how I got to know Matt Rule as well as I did. Or even the time I was able to sit down, not nearly as long, but with Art Briles, or with Jim Grobe. So what I try to do on Mondays, because the teleconference and then the media session can get very football-y, kind of X's and O's. I try to mix it in a little bit. How often have you guys, either one of you now, heard him refer to Tony Dungy?
Quite a bit. Very, very often.
Yeah, more than a couple times.
It's constant. And you can see that Tony Dungy has had, obviously, a very important role in Dave Aranda and his coaching philosophy. What are the similarities between those two?
Very mellow, defensive-oriented.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit on the two main ones there. Just football-minded guys, bald-headed. Other than that, I mean, Paul kind of hit it. They're just football-minded guys who love defense and love X's and O's and talking football.
Yeah, and the demeanor is different. And there's a question that I asked him about his personality traits. I had somebody that sent me a note. Girl Friday 85 sent me a note and said he's got some Tom Landry qualities to him. Now, Tom Landry's a Pro Football Hall of Famer, one of the greatest coaches of all time, in the names of George Halas and Bill Walsh and others, right? But do you see any of that as far as the way he is, the way he's we haven't seen him in game much as a head coach yet. We haven't seen him at all as a head coach.
No, but I mean, we haven't seen that, but I do get that, he's not gonna flip out like Tom Landry. I mean, I think there's 3 videos all time spread out by about 10 years of his coaching career where he just lost it on somebody and they caught it on camera. I mean, there's not much. I mean, he's very mellow. He just kind of stared at people when they messed up.
Yeah, I didn't see enough of Landry before my time to really have a full grasp on him. I may have seen the NFL films and things like that, but I also haven't seen Dave Aranda as a head coach. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, but I guess just sort of the quiet tones and maybe calm approach, if you will, but getting out of that calm when needed would be similar. But, yeah, for me, just I don't have enough of a grasp on how Landry conducted himself or how Aranda will conduct himself to go too much further than that.
So here's my conversation. Oh, we're going to break for okay with Dave Aranda. Also, we'll have some more discussion about the Cowboys in the 5 o'clock hour. So coming up next, my conversation one-on-one with Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty and his business at PettyClinicLowT.com can help you in many, many ways. Perhaps it's your energy, perhaps it's your sex drive, perhaps it's all of the above, and perhaps you don't even know what it might be, but as you get older, your testosterone levels can change. Low T Therapy. Dr. Petty has special interest in testosterone replacement therapy, currently offering immediate same-day access for lab screening at a discounted rate to help identify those men in need, and maybe that is you. Low testosterone is common, occurring in 1 in every 3 men, and often causes the following symptoms: decreased muscle mass and strength, depression, moodiness, poor sleeping and insomnia, mental focus issues, poor sexual performance, ED, loss of sexual interest, and also fatigue and loss of energy, all of the above. And so he can help you get discounted lab work, look at your results, look at your testosterone number, and if it's too low, he can put you in a program to increase that, to increase your testosterone level so you can check off some of these boxes, if not all of them, and become a higher performance man in every way. Petty Clinic Low T, Dr. Kent Petty, Petty Clinic Low T on Old Hewitt Road, just off of 84, just off the access road, PettyClinicLowT.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out in anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's bail bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
We are with Baylor football coach Dave Aranda on Sikkim 365 Radio. What's the relief when you knew you had a game, and also the fact that how quickly can you get turnaround with technology to immediately start focusing in on University of Houston?
It was a great relief. You know, our players were really excited. Coaches were excited to be able to have this game, and you know, I was so proud of our administrative staff. You know, Jeremiah Dickey, Mac Rhodes worked really hard to make this happen, and you know, we had talked about prior about we had a practice on Saturday, and I think Sunday was going to be off, and Monday was going to be off, and it was. You know, the thought there was, you know, not playing till the 26th, you know, prior to getting this game, was to try to get the work we need to get in, but then not overdo it. But, you know, there's probably motivation issues you had to address, as well as, you know, at a certain point, you've been practicing since, you know, summertime. And so, like, you know, to try to measure that out to be as fresh as you can come, you know, Kansas. And so that was the initial plan on that Saturday. And so when that flipped, we had talked about it here as some of our grad assistants and analysts say, hey, you know, Saturday you're staying all night, right, and all day Sunday, and this is called the old bait and switch. They had some plans. They had some plans, I think, that got flipped around, but everyone's excited for it, and so it's a good little energy
that's going on around over here, and the coffee's flowing for sure, so it's good.
So obviously Xavier Newman still doesn't play this week since you didn't play against Louisiana Tech. Are you pretty good health-wise when it comes to battling COVID injury-wise? Did the extra week help get somebody back that wouldn't have been there?
We're good. Yeah, I feel our guys have done a great job, and I'm proud of them. And I think obviously you get the concern for me comes with negative news. With the game getting postponed right away, the first thought I've got is COVID-19. Is guys just dealing with frustrations, trying to get together, talk about this, gripe about that, go here, go there, go home maybe. And so, a lot of the issues that we've had, COVID-19, has been people kind of leaving our bubble. And so we've talked quite a bit about staying in, but, everything's connected, and everything matters. And so when that news happened on Tuesday, it's the first thing I thought about, and so, so far so good. It's crazy. You just see the landscape of it and see these teams playing without 20, 30 of their folks, and so it looks like that's just how it is.
You coached at Houston under Coach Briles, so is this kind of a little bit of a trip down memory lane when you knew it was them?
Yeah. And so I had coached there. Obviously, Mac had been the AD there. Brian Stewart has coached there. He was there with Coach Sumlin, and so there's a few guys that have been there. Always been very impressed with Houston and just their talent level and just the recruiting that they do year in, year out. I think they're real professional coaches. I've got a lot of respect for their defensive staff. I've visited with them when I was at LSU quite a bit. And offensive staff-wise, was on the staff there at Tech with Dana, and a lot of respect for him. Just very bright and innovative, and the rest of the staff. I think Dawson coached against when I think it was 2016. I was at LSU and he was at Southern Miss. I think that was the year, and I think Brandon Jones was an O lineman for us at Tech when I was there, and so a lot of connections to that staff and great group of guys, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
When you took over at Baylor, has there been anything since you've been there now, even though the suspension of everything in the spring, early summer, that is even better than you thought?
The people, I think when you first get here, this is probably hard to talk about, I imagine, but there's certain spots you're at to where you have to kind of put on a facade of, hey, this is Dave the coach, this is me at work, this is how I have to handle myself at work. I need to be this way, say this, just to politically kind of make it. And unfortunately, I think that's probably more common than you'd like, and it's probably more of a protection thing or self-preservation thing. And what I love about Baylor is that you can be you, and people are wanting to get to know you and get you and back you and be right there with you. And so I think our whole staff feels that. Our kids we're working really hard, so our kids feel that. I feel they do, with our new staff. And I think there's a closeness and a togetherness. There's that I feel here, and you give credit to Mac and to Linda and just the whole, from the top down, it feels like family. And so you felt that right away when you got here. And it's continued to be that with good, during good and bad times, which is always the test of it.
Dave, I had somebody that sent me a note that said when they've listened to you, now that people have heard more of you, and and how you discuss football, but also how you discuss everything other than football. I know he was one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time, but they brought up you have personality traits similar to Tom Landry. When you hear that, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, I do realize that I'm different, and so I think, one of the things I remember in talking with Coach Dungy on the phone, and I remember Coach going, Dave, it's important that you guys kind of start off and you win, and because I think there's a certain, just the way that I'm built and the way that I always talk and see things is kind of a more analytical, trying to get to, hear all the opinions. Let's decide on the best option. And I've always done that in good and bad times, and I've never really have gotten to where I've been shaken. But, during good times, that's a positive. And Tony Dungy was telling me this, and he goes, Dave, during bad times, they're going to go, because they said this to him, they go, they're going to see you and go, why aren't you saying this? Why aren't you saying that? Why aren't you motivating this? Why aren't you motivating that? He goes, Dave, just be you and the whole thing. And so, I appreciate that. I noticed that it's not, I'm probably different than most. And, when I see players that we have that are I feel that are like me, and I feel that I can reach them a certain way, and I feel that when there's players that are not like me, I feel like I can address them and reach them a different way as well. It motivates me to be me,
Mm-hmm.
But I realize that I'm different. And so, when you pop on TV and stuff, it's pretty clear.
Well, there's no question you seem to be much more comfortable. This is the first time you've had all these things where you're the main focus. And speaking of that, you don't seem to be somebody that would ever have to battle an ego. But everybody at times can get full of themselves. Have you ever had to cross yourself and kind of check yourself at the door with any kind of time in your career where you had to battle an ego?
No. Now, my wife would probably say different. So she would. I don't know. It depends. Is she listening to this?
Probably so. Wives want to know all that. Yeah.
You would probably say different, but not professionally. I think. I think it's, for me, it's always been what is the best. I was just in a meeting prior to this of defensively, so I looked at a certain personnel group, certain plays, and I had my thoughts, and here's what I think, and guys, what do you guys think? And there's some different thoughts there, and so whatever is the best, let's do that. Mm-hmm. Whatever fits us. And so it's always been that way, and I think that way is it forces you, I believe, to be a better person, because you have to get that ego out of the way. You're gonna have to sit and listen, not to reply, but listen to understand, and listen to really know kind of where this opinion or this thought is coming from, and give them the time to detail kind of what they put into it, how they got into this. Hey, my heart's really behind this. To hear all that, give it its due respect, and then if it's the best thing out there, then let's do it. And so I think, you have to step aside to do that. And when you have a group of guys on a football staff that are all doing that, good things are going to happen.
Based on what Baylor did last year, which was successful defensively, and also what and what Ron Roberts' history is, how did you guys go about saying, we're not going to try to fit a square into a hole or a circle or vice versa. We're going to do with what we have. Some guys just wanted, this is the way we're going to do it. When did you guys, or how did you guys, and why did you guys come about what you're going to do defensively with what you had and what you know?
Yeah, I think there's certain things that Baylor did last year particularly that I think we're really comfortable with. The players are comfortable with. Joey McGuire's a guy that comes to mind that would vouch for things, and he was comfortable with. And then there's a few other things that Ron was coming from, certain coverages and just a kind of a way of attacking certain formations and protections that he's bringing from Lafayette that he's been comfortable with, and so I think that has been the main focus. But there definitely is, and Ron was already bringing from Lafayette some of the stuff that he's taken from me, and so there's already some of that built in, and then plus just here this just the times that we've had since. With all quarantine and, the postponements and everything else to talk about this or that, there's been some more. But, it's taken what we're talking about. And it's taken guys seeing kind of, hey, this is what we feel the strength of our team is, with our players. This is where our talent is. This is how they learn. This is what they can do. Of all these things, let's do what we do best. And there's a bit of both in there, or all three, and I feel really good about the fit. I feel really good about the simplicity, and I'm excited to put it out there.
One thing, when you take that field, thank goodness, on Saturday morning, to run onto the field, what's going to be going through Dave Aranda's mind?
I just want to see us give it our best shot, and so just to go through a week of practice, to go through a Friday where everyone's focused, everyone's locked in, and you get the feel that there's a momentum that comes. I was talking with John Lovett and Ebner about this the other day, about, when everyone's doing the right things and everyone's putting time in and everyone's sacrificing and everyone's thinking of others and trying to lift people up, there is a momentum that you feel. And it's almost like that unstoppable train. You get that rolling where it's just, you feel that. And it's one of the things that's great about being on the team is you just feel that energy. And so I want to be able to get that energy going this week, and so that Saturday we're running on the field, you feel it.
Dave Aranda, head football coach at Baylor, with us.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Mazzana Construction is celebrating 52 years as an award-winning, family-owned and operated business excelling in general construction and construction management. Mazzana Construction is proud to support Connolly ISD's tradition of excellence in education and athletics, including owners calling Connolly High their alma mater, Vicky Mazzonic, class of 1974, and Aaron Miner from the class of 2002. Mazzana Construction, celebrating 50-plus years by building trust with quality work. MazzanaConstruction.com.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.
This is Paul Catalina's College Football Focus.
To the 40, he's to midfield in a sprint, and he takes it inside the 30. It's his second kick return for a score for the Raging Cajuns today, and they're raging in Acadiana.
SicEm 365 Radio. Raymond Parch, the Daily Iberian, joins us now in the College Football Focus. Louisiana Raging Cajuns really rolled past Iowa State, especially in the second half, 31-14 on Saturday. And Raymond, this was not a game of, the Cajuns offense wasn't like prolific. This was
about 2 big kick returns and a big long pass, and Iowa State was slower than Louisiana. What is Billy Napier building in Louisiana right now?
Well, and part of that, when I watched the game, David, I thought, wow, that kind of reminds me of an old school, like early 2000s SEC football game. Defense and special teams is going to win it for you. And sure enough, Billy Napier learned a lot under Coach Nick Saban at Alabama, who was there part of the national championship team. And that's very much kind of what he has done here in Lafayette. It's very much part of the process. They've developed a culture. You don't hear the guys getting in trouble off the field. You listen to the guys talk after a game. They sound just like their head coach. And they've all bought into this. And part of this has to stem from the fact of they do have a lot of returners coming back. They're led by a veteran quarterback in Levi Lewis, who did not have a sensational game, but he was steady, had the big 78-yard touchdown pass to Peter LeBlanc that he needed, one of the 3 big scoring plays they had in this game. But what Billy's building is, slowly but steady, is building high-caliber guys. He's winning the state. The only team that drafts higher-rated prospects in the state of Louisiana is LSU. And he's had the top recruiting class in the Sun Belt Conference now for a few years. He also has the highest-paid coaching staff in the Sun Belt Conference. That's something that the school was committed to because Billy learned that not only under Nick Saban at Alabama, but also Dabo Swinney in Clemson, that if you want to have success, you need to have a massive staff filled with analysts, filled with some of the best young coaches in the game, and you need to make sure to pay them so they'll stay. And that's what the Raging Cajuns have done a very good job of. So last year, they get to 10 regular season wins for the first time ever in 100 years. First time ever in program history. Then they win the bowl game. They've come up short of winning the conference championship. App State has stood in their way back-to-back years since Billy's been here. But he's building up the team, and he's very much modeling it after what he learned at Clemson and, more importantly, what he learned at Alabama. And that's what you're starting to see on the field, a lot of discipline, a lot of, execution, and not a lot of flash. They're not going to, like you mentioned about the offense, it wasn't a lot of big plays or anything like that. It wasn't a high-octane offense. They like to run the ball. They like to use 2 to 3 running backs. What does that remind you of? It's that kind of thing. It's running the ball, play defense, win special teams, and not commit stupid penalties. And that's pretty much why Billy's been able to turn this around into a top 25 program.
Well, and I know that I'm extrapolating way out into the future here a few months, but he's a coach who's going to be a hot name every year that he's continues to do this. And he's got those SEC ties, but you would think that Louisiana would think that they at least have one more year with them, because I would assume unless a major program that actually is playing this year is really, really terrible, nobody's getting fired just because schools don't want to pay a buyout for a guy who's not going to coach there anymore. So maybe at least another year, if not a few, for Billy Napier and the Raging Cajuns.
The Raging Cajun faithful hopes that you're correct. I'll put it to you that way. I mean, they're ecstatic, but on the same hand, they're nervous. They got nervous in the offseason because his name was linked and mentioned for the Ole Miss job, which obviously ended up going to Lane Kiffin, and also the Arkansas job. Now, Billy's originally from the Carolinas. Could Will Muschamp, who may be on the hot seat there with the Gamecocks, could Billy Napier kind of go home, so to speak, and coach out South Carolina? I don't know. I think he's looking for a good job. I don't think Billy's in a position, to be perfectly frank with you, that he's just going to leave to go take a Power 5 job. He's going to go leave to take the right Power 5 job. If he just wanted a Power 5 job, he would have left to go to Arkansas or Ole Miss. He's building something big here. He still has a lot of goals that he wants to accomplish, namely winning a conference championship. Look, Louisiana has not beat App State at all, period, in football. And they've lost every regular season, and they're 0-4 now in the last 2 conference championship games in the regular season. That's a big goal. They got a big game, I want to say October 7th on the road there in Boone, North Carolina. But, look, you're right about the pandemic affecting all the coaching jobs and everything like that. I don't see Billy Napier just going to take a job at a Power 5 school just to take one, if that makes sense. I think it has to be the right fit for him.
One of the things I did notice was they have a tremendous amount of speed on that team. And Iowa State, they got after them on defense, speed on defense, speed on special teams, kind of all over the field. Is that where he went about kind of changing the course of the program when he got there? Was like, look, if I can get guys who can run, everything else kind of falls into place.
He does like having the speeds on the back end of the secondary. That's something that he's picked up along the way. And look, he already inherited some very talented, speedy players when he got there from Mark Hudspeth, the previous head coach. In particular, Raymond Calais, who was an all-conference running back and return man for the Raging Cajuns last year. He was drafted by the Tampa Bay Bucks, and now he's on the roster for the Los Angeles Rams. And he was a track star in high school here locally from a little community called Cecilia. Look, Smith is the third-string running back who just happened to be a return man, but that's the type of speed that they have at the third-string running back spot. And you're going to see that, the speed. Look, Peter LeBlanc makes a big play in the game at the wide receiving position. He had 80 yards receiving, led all wide receivers, but 78 of it came on one play, and that was the play where he was able to get behind the safety with pretty much ease, and Levi Lewis was able to pinpoint it right there in his hands in stride for that big touchdown run. But yes, speed is part of it, but it's also discipline. You know, there was some issues with Mark Hudspeth, discipline on and off the field, just to be completely transparent with you. But his team, he likes the speed. They recruit speed, but they also want the guys to be disciplined when it comes to the tackling techniques and everything like that. They don't want guys just out there just freelancing it, so to speak. You have to do your job, and they preach that over and over again. You hear Billy say it all the time, execution, execution. He sprinkles it into his press conferences constantly, and that's one of the things they really push hard in off-season and during camp and during practice is execution.
Raymond Parch is our guest here, the Daily Iberian. Paul Catalina's College Football Focus here on Sikkim 365 Radio. And Baylor opens up this weekend. Their defensive coordinator, Ron Roberts, comes our way from, here to Waco anyway, from Louisiana. Your thoughts on Ron Roberts and what he'll bring to Baylor as they get to open after the cancellation of Louisiana Tech and they play Houston this week?
Well, personality-wise, him and Dave Aranda could be no different. I mean, I honestly, and Roberts is an intense guy. We're talking in your face, get after you, will chew your butt if you do something wrong. Okay, and he's going to hold his guys accountable. That's a good fiery guy. That's a good guy to have on staff to kind of counter how Aranda is. He's more kind of a soft-spoken kind of reserved personality-wise. Roberts likes to attack. He likes to be aggressive. He likes to be aggressive with his defensive backs. And he was able to do that, definitely some with the Raging Cajuns. He was able to do that before when he was the head coach at Southeastern Louisiana. He helped develop a young man who ended up becoming a draft pick and play for the Atlanta Falcons. That's kind of what he does. He's very good at developing defensive backs. So Baylor, the defensive backs will come along. He will develop, and that will be a strength of the defense. It's all really going to come down for what Baylor's going to be able to do is how good that front seven is. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna leave those DBs, one-on-one, it's going to let Roberts not be as aggressive as he likes to be. But look, he's a good coach, a damn good coach, and he's an intense coach, and he's going to give those kids some tough love. So if that's what you're kind of looking for, if that's what you think the program needs for anyone that's been following Baylor in the last couple of years, if you think that's what that kind of toughness is needed on that side of the football, your defensive coordinator.
That's Raymond Parch, the Daily Iberian, here with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, our college football focus. We'll do these every week. Big upsets and big games here on Sikkim 365 Radio. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. If you've not been by there and they say you're on your way to a party and like they told you to pick up something and you're kind of in a rush, just use the drive-thru. Just go on through and say, like, I need a bottle of rosé and I need a six-pack of Shinerbach, and they can go and they get it for you. You pay right at the window. It's fantastic. If you are a fan of craft beer, you need to go check them out. They've got this walk-in fridge. You walk in. They've got tons of cool stuff. The best selection in Waco of craft beers that you can find. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. They've got what you need. They've got people who can, point you in the right direction if you're trying to pair something for a dinner. Whatever you can do, they've got the answer for you. Check out more on Facebook and Instagram. They got great pages there as well. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco.
What season is it? It's truck season at Allen Samuels. Ram trucks are raring to go, ready to work and play, and all feature the best deals of the year during Ram Power Days. Come get your brand new Ram Lone Star at Allen Samuels with 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $9,250 in bonus cash and incentives. Ram, the highest pickup owner loyalty in America. Shop, apply, buy online. We deliver. Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trust, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. The Central Texas Players of the Week is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
All right. I mentioned the story about Lorena's cleared to play this week. I just spoke with Malakoff's Jamie Driscoll. They lost to, Cedar Hill Trinity Christian, that's coached by Coach Hart, but Deion Sanders, the offensive coordinator, his son's a hell of a quarterback. They had a band member who tested positive with COVID, and come to find out, he's a triplet. So you're not talking about one, you're talking about 3, talking about a family, you're talking about the band. Well, the young man in the band tested positive, so the school was shut down today, and they defumed it all, whatever you do. But the 2 brothers tested negative, and so they'll go back to working out and being on normal schedule tomorrow. Malakoff was beaten by Deion Sanders' son and his team, Cedar Hill Trinity Christian. But that's the story there. That's, again, like Lorena, wasn't that a last-second deal? But they're back and they'll be able to play this week. Because didn't they lose their game with – no, they played Franklin and won that game. Then they had China Spring, and then the following week they were out. At 5 o'clock, Jeff Traylor. His first game as a head coach in college football, he beats Texas State in a crazy game. Crazy game. He'll join us at 5 o'clock, and then we're going to get back into more Cowboys in the 5 o'clock hour. So our offensive, defensive, and special teams players of the week. On offense, it wasn't unanimous because two names in particular really popped out. One of them was Jared Kerr, the running back from Lexington, who's got offers from everywhere. And then Noah Mesher from Salado, 27 carries, 364 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and beat Stephenville. Jared Kerr, 25 carries, 231 and 3, plus he threw for 2 touchdowns in the win against Rockdale. What was it, 35-34? And by voting, among us all who vote, the 3 of us plus others who voted, a couple of others wrote in and got those to me last night. Jared Kerr wins the player of the week on offense. They have Cameron Yo coming up this week. Kerr also had a 50-yard punt return and 17 tackles and an interception in that win against Rockdale. Salado scored 61 on Stephenville. If they have the ball and then they get it back and the lead, you're in trouble because of what they run. We get to watch the slot T this week. That's what Palestine runs. Defensive player of the week, this was spread out among many. Jalen McWilliams from Academy, 5 tackles, 2 interceptions, ran both of them back for touchdowns for a combined 118 yards. They shut out Groesbeck 45-0. Mentioned Caden Workman, linebacker from Troy. 9 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, a blocked extra point, and 2 fumble recoveries. They beat Robinson badly. And then Homar Arizbe from Maypearl, 9 tackles, 5 tackles for losses, 4 sacks, and 2 quarterback pressures. And their win against Clifton, 17-7. Special teams player of the week, it came down to Vladimir Morales. Madisonville, every single time we do this, every year they have kickers, good ones. He had 3 for 3 extra points and also kicked a field goal, 35 yards. They beat Teague 24-7.
I voted for him because of his name alone.
Yeah, he spells Vladimir very, like there's an extra couple of A's in there. Vlaadamir. And I don't know, you asked me this question, does Madisonville have a really good soccer program? I have not looked that up. I guess I should. But he is the special teams player. So Jared Kerr, running back, Lexington. Defense is Jalen Williams of Academy. And boy, was Chris Lancaster's got himself a good start there. And Vladimir Morales of Madisonville. For a second, you mentioned something about La Vega. They found another game. It was going to be not this week, but next week, because they have Argyle this week. And they've been trying to piece this thing together from day one.
Yeah, they did you say who they were playing?
I don't know if I ever did. Fort Worth All Saints.
Yeah, La Vega's now scheduled Fort Worth All Saints for later on this month, so they have had to, finagle a lot with this schedule and try to make it work as best they can, and so that's good for them, good for Don Hyde. I mean, kind of like Baylor had to do with the game against Houston. La Vega's had to scramble, so they've not only scrambled, they put together a hell of a schedule. I mean, given the circumstances, this is not like any Joe Blows that they're scheduling. They're scheduling big teams, back to back to back to back. I mean, they had the Connolly twofer they were going to do at one point, So, yeah, they're not scared of anybody, and that's going to be a great matchup.
Anybody, anywhere, anytime. And that kind of it. And Argyle. And I'll tell you now, La Vega, of course, it would be interesting. They'll still play their guts out. Argyle's got so much firepower. Remember, they went up to Pleasant Grove and won that game like 52-41 against a really good team that Coach Gibson has at Pleasant Grove. They've been in that conversation, winning 2 of the last 3 state championship games or so. Put 52 up on Pleasant Grove. So this will be the ultimate test for La Vega on defense, and we know that they'll be ready. But Argyle seems to have a lot of firepower. Our Pick'em contest through last week, we got 20 new games up. You can go to Sick'em365.com in the premium section, and there is a link to both if you want to get into the East or Central Texas 20 games each Pick'em contest. The winners get a free hamburger from Fuddruckers. And we put that on my site, which goes on Sick'em, and then Derek Tonkin spits out the winner. And there's been games where we had this year, there's been like you're 15-3-2 because not ties, because games that were canceled. Yeah. So right now, through week 3, I got a 2-game lead. Paul and Brian, Craig's 4-back. So is Grayson. Dylan had a really tough week. Dylan really struggled last week.
I lasted 1 week at the top of the mountain.
And Deontay
good feeling.
Is slightly below Dylan, but they struggled. I got to tell you, I made two really, really bad picks. I knew about Salado and Stephenville. I had a coach even tell me, don't go with Stephenville. I did. And then for something about China Spring Brownwood, stupid pick. But the one that got a lot of people was obviously Springtown beating what was an incredibly undisciplined and really lethargic team out of Conley.
Yep.
Period. No way that game should be that way. Springtown's got a great history, but, man, they just had nothing.
Connolly looked terrible. I mean, given the opponent was a pretty good opponent, you'd think they'd find a way to rebound from the emotions of the previous week. I know that that's not something that can always be avoided. It was very clear they were still hungover from that La Vega loss. I mean, I think it was pretty clear to me, and probably most people, just with some of the lack of energy. And I shouldn't say they looked terrible, because there were some positives coming out of that game. But, I mean, my gosh, you talk about shooting yourself in the foot and having penalties that just are crushing and not timely and just completely avoidable. I mean, that was the thing with Connolly last week, was they played a team who didn't buy into the trash talk. They just kept their heads down and kept playing. They didn't commit stupid penalties. They didn't turn the ball over. They just executed, and eventually they got a little bit of an opportunity to take the lead. And once they did, Connolly just couldn't answer. So that was a brutal loss. I'm sure that was a tough one for Shane Anderson on Friday night and that coaching staff and those players. I mean, I saw a couple players crying after the game because they were so upset. I think they realized, like, how did we lose this game? Well, you lost that game because you played undisciplined football at times, and because you. The penalties are the biggest thing, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing in their way.
8 penalties in the first half.
Yeah, like Tyler Webb makes a big throw, penalty. Tyler Webb makes another big throw later, penalty. And so, like, even their biggest plays were wiped off the board. So the only big play they even ended up with was right at the very beginning of the game with their first touchdown. And then after that, should have scored at least a couple more times, and it got brought back thanks to flags. So that's got to get cleaned up. Shane was very clear in his message to the team after the game, the part that I was able to hear. And, there was a little bit of infighting going on at one point that needs to be cleaned up as well along the offensive line. So I'm sure that's been addressed. But, yeah, I mean, the fortunate thing is for anybody who's losing games right now, whether you're 2-1 or 1-2 or 0-3, is that for everybody it's non-district. So that's not going to last much longer.
Well, let me put it this way. La Vega didn't have a letdown, and they played a much better team in Cal Allen. Because they're used to playing in bigger games and then also knowing that they are the ones with a target on their back the next week.
Yeah, they know how it goes. And the thing with Connolly is that they had a lot of success last year. They had some really great players like Javion Sunday and Pullen and Corey Black, and they've got a bunch of really good players on this team. I mean, they've got some future D1 guys on this team, but this team didn't do what last year's team did. Last year's team did that. So La Vega's building upon years and years and years of the same message and the same formula and the same mentality and the same mindset and the same, big game atmosphere every, couple of weeks or every week with La Vega's schedule this year. And that's something that Connolly doesn't have a lot of experience with. So they're going to have to get that experience and realize they're like, hey, just because you guys made a run last year doesn't mean you're going to make a run this year. You have to execute, and they did not execute on Friday.
No question about it. They look like they were pouting, and that's why. And then you get beaten. Give Springtown a lot of credit. They were really fun to watch. So now we have our players of the week, and now we have what was the play or moment of the week.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sikkim 365's Richard Carr Cadillac Moment with Central Texas High School Football is sponsored by Cadillac, where exceeding expectations is the standard.
So there were 2 nominations, and we put this up for a vote. La Vega, one of them was the play that Jarquay Walton made, and Don Hyde alluded to it in the newspaper article in the Trib. The game was still very much up for grabs. And then Walton went 71 yards out with just under 3 minutes to play to put La Vega up 21-13 over Cal Allen and locked up another win against a raked opponent, because that game was very dicey. Cal Allen and Phil Danaher, he's won 1 million games. All-time winningest coach, I think, in Texas high school football history now. But they ended up winning that game. Another tough defensive-type struggle with a few big plays in between. That was one that was up for this award. The other one, though, and this is the one that we voted on, was Rockdale scored with 47 seconds left to get to within a point of Lexington. We've seen this with that game between Franklin and Lorena. Both teams dead tired. So Lexington head coach Kirk Mule called a timeout and tried to just catch their breath, make a few defensive notes or adjustments, go over what we thought, and this is from Coach Mule, they would do. They came out with slot trips formation. We had already discussed how they would attack it with pressure. So we were able to take away the first pass option, flush the quarterback out of the pocket. We had 3 players that chased the quarterback to the sideline: Ty Hawley, Jeremiah Jackson, and Jared Kerr. Jackson and Kerr ended up knocking him out of bounds at the 1 as the quarterback from Rockdale, who's very good, took a dive or tried to get to the pylon, and Lexington holds on to win the game 35-34. This segment, again, the moment, brought to you by our Cadillac moment, brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. And we're going to have that every week on Mondays as well.
Yeah, and Jared Kerr, he's just a junior, so he's got another year left, and he's already got offers from Oklahoma, Texas, Baylor, Florida, Arkansas, Colorado, etc. So as far as local recruiting goes, it's kind of quiet right now. A lot of La Vega guys made commitments to, like Lafayette and schools like that a couple of weeks ago. So we had a little bit of a run, but there's not that I can see or that I can think of right now like a big, 2021 name. But certainly Jared Kerr in 2022, as far as just programs from the area, is going to be somebody that's getting a lot of attention already, but will certainly get a lot more, especially with games like Friday night.
All right, so on Mondays at 4:45, the players of the week, and not just offense. It's also combination, offense, defense, special teams, and then the Cadillac moment of the week as well. That is on Mondays at 4:45. When we come back, Jeff Traylor, UT San Antonio, his first game as a head coach. This Saturday will be Dave Aranda's first game as a head coach. Jeff Traylor on the win for the Roadrunners, what it means, and flashing back to it, next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by. Let's be friends. They're available on Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. You could also go online if you'd rather do that online anytime, not just because of the concerns about COVID, at AlanSamuelsDCJ.com. And right now, it is truck season. Of course, Ram trucks are always amazing. Fantastic deal, an amazing Lone Star Crew Cab, decked out with plenty of options, including big ol' Hemi. Get $9,750 in bonus cash and incentives, or you can choose 0% financing for 72 months, no payments for 90 days with approved credit. Ask for details. The Jeep Gladiator, 3.9% financing for 72 months, no payments for 90 days, and the Adventure Days deal. And also, if you're looking for the perfect Jeep in town, as well as the outdoors, the Jeep Cherokee or the Jeep Renegade. The Cherokee, 0% financing for 72 months of the 2020 model, no payments for 90 days, or choose up to $6,000 in bonus cash and incentives. And the Renegade, 0% for 72 months, or you can choose up to $5,750 in bonus cash and incentives. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Say hi to Ted Teague. Say hi to my buddy as well, AJ, who sold me a car. It's Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Kick is up, and it is good. A game that had a crazy start has a crazy ending. The field goal is good. Jeff Traylor, his debut as the head coach in San Antonio. UTSA wins his first game 51-48 in double overtime.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Dave Aranda makes his debut as a head coach Saturday against Houston. Jeff Traylor made his debut on Saturday against Texas State for UT San Antonio, and they got the win in dramatic fashion. Are you exhausted?
We really were. That second overtime, if they would have scored, I was going to go for two, not for any kind of tactical advantage. I was just hot and tired, and we were going to go home one way or another.
So was winning your first game as a college coach different than winning your first game as a head coach in high school at your alma mater?
It's a great question. It was exactly 20 years ago. Gladewater was number 3 in the state, and, that's our arch rival, and it was a packed house. I know I've learned a lot since then, David. We pulled an upset that day, similar to this one, and we played hooks the next week, and I thought I put the air in the ball back in the day. And I thought I was the cool on the other side of the pillow, and Steve Wells kicked my tail in hooks that night, and I've never forgotten it. And I'm doing my darndest to make sure Kobe Carpel doesn't do that to me 20 years later.
You're playing against your alma mater. I just mentioned what you did at Gilmer, and now you're playing against not only your alma mater, but a school and a program that you wanted that job.
Yeah, no doubt. That was a job I'd always dreamed of. When you grow up in East Texas, if you can coach Longview or Lufkin, SFA, those kind of things are pretty special when you grow up in those pine trees. And, it didn't work out that way. God had a different plan. And so I'm extremely happy for Kobe. He's a great coach, and he's already done a fantastic job. They're going to give us all we can handle Saturday.
What did you learn about your guys this week? And here you got your first game after everything that's gone on, and you getting this barn burner back and forth kind of nutso game. What did you learn about your guys?
We're not in very good condition. We were really, really clean the first half. and we were very sloppy the second half. We were writing some checks with our, minds. Our body just couldn't cash. But our guys won't go away. They never blinked. They came out, in the very first series of the game, and that we busted the covers, and they house called us. Our guys didn't blink. We gave up the punt return. Guys didn't blink. Overtime, every situation there was something bad happen. Our guys just would not go away. And we were not perfect by any means, but our effort was perfect the entire day.
Coach, you had some various players. Quarterback Frank Harris accounted for 4 total touchdowns, 3 on the ground. But Sincere McCormick, I'm part of putting together the stats each week for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. And Sincere was somebody I took notice of last year, and he's already, making at least the honorable mention for this first week with nearly 200 yards rushing. What have you noticed from him during your time together, and what makes him such a good back?
Well, he's such a great person. And the other running back's really good too. We got 2 of them. Brendan Brady's very good as well, and they have a great competition back there, and they're very good friends. But Brendan went out there and carried it 9 or 10 times for over 60 yards, I believe, and they're just a great little compliment to each other back there. He really is a great human. He came from a great program in Converse Judson, a local kid. And, of course, Brendan Brady came from Cibolo. So I've got 2 local kids in the backfield, and they run the ball like the 2-1-0 is supposed to.
Yeah, both of them from schools that have had amazing success. Judson, of course, the longtime winner, and then what Steele's done in recent years since they opened up. You have that philosophy. You said that from the beginning, to basically put up a wall around the city of San Antonio. Now that you've been there a few months, even through all the delays and suspensions and whatever else we've had, do you feel like that wall is going to go up, and do you feel like you're making inroads with that?
Oh, for sure. If you look at our 20 commitments, I couldn't tell you the exact number of those kids that are 2-1-0, but it's extremely high, especially South Texas as well. We have 3 more commits from there, Houston area. We're in Texas, so we can get to Dallas, we can get to Houston, we can get to the Austin area. Believe it or not, East Texas is kind of one of my furthest places to get to, where I have the most contact. But the 2-1-0 has been fantastic for us, and obviously I can't name them all right now. It's against the rules, but
yeah,
we're extremely thrilled with what we've done, and even the grad transfers and the kids that have come back home. We've got probably 4 or 5 kids that are already back that left and came back.
Coach, you mentioned that you guys were, you said you were out of shape, and I would imagine that's the case for most teams who didn't have their full offseason program. How do you deal with that in the short term? Obviously, the long-term plan, you've got that, but in the short term of getting them in shape for the season, how do you do that?
Well, it's something I've always believed in, and we've always done it. I know you guys have watched our teams before. We play a lot of kids no matter what. I think it's just good for the morale. I think it's good for the locker room. I think it's good for injuries. So that's what was scary. Saturday, we played a lot of kids, and we were still out of gas. Our threes were cramping. We were just cramping everywhere. The heat, at 2:30 on that turf, and we were in the sun the entire time. And I'm not making excuses for my players. I'm just calling it like I see it. We just couldn't last. And hopefully it won't be quite as hot in that Alamo Dome, where it's going to be 72 degrees, partly cloudy, and no sun.
With a lot of teams not having yet played, there was a few cancellations last week. For example, Baylor's now playing Houston this weekend to open up the season. What would be your advice to coaches who haven't seen their teams on the field yet, as far as preparations and maybe things to double check, given kind of the weird way this whole season has started? What did you learn about week 1 that you would pass along to other coaches?
We took an extremely simple plan into the ball game. We were thrilled. We only had 4 penalties on offense and no turnovers. Only 1 pre-snap penalty. One of our penalties was for running out of bounds, and being the first guy back to touch it. He's about an inch out of bounds. So that's a call that happened. It's one of those freak deals. We were really thrilled with that we just had no turnovers and very, very few penalties on offense. Defensively, just conditioning. I mean, can you really chase the ball that long and play a bunch of kids? And special teams really got hurt late. We just didn't cover punts very well. We were just so dead, and we kicked the ball in the middle of the field. it was a terrible decision. I should have just kicked the ball out of bounds, and I'll never forgive myself for not doing that. It's a poor choice by me.
You're a full throttle, hair on fire guy. You sound like you're still. How do you get through that? And you guys, you got to move on. But how you sound like you're pretty worn out.
No, we're good. My voice is probably a little beat down right now. We're really good. We feel great. It's just it was an exhausting day, and we put a lot into that game. It was a very, very big game for us. We understand the momentum we have right now with recruiting, and our recruits on the way to the game. We had 20 commits, and I talked to every one of them. Hit me up within 2 minutes, and so we know we've got a ton of recruitment going on that's hot, and we just want to keep that momentum going right now, David. And we're still undefeated, Bubba. The honeymoon is still going on here in UTSA. We got to keep that thing alive.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Craig.
Coach, I noticed that last week in preparation for the game, you started issuing out single-digit jerseys, which is, of course, something we've seen around here. What made you decide to implement that into your program, and what was the reaction of your players to being able to earn something like the honor of wearing one of the coveted single digits?
Well, like every great idea I've ever had, I stole it from somebody. Coach Rule had done it at Temple, and he brought that to Baylor. And obviously, I'm very close with Joey McGuire, so he's always helped me as well. And Coach Rule, it's unbelievable how he's always taken care of me. I almost came to work for him there at Baylor, and I just have had a lot of respect for him and Joey, and just how Matt bought into the THFTA and how much he really appreciates where we come from and what we're about. And so he's been very open with me. And the 210 idea, the branding, a lot of that was Coach Rule. Him and I talking and just kicking stuff around. And our kids bought into it. They take a lot of pride in it. And that 210, we talk about that being the triangle of toughness. And we're going to be very physical on defense. We're going to run the football, and we're going to be physical on special teams. So we talk to our kids about it. That's what the 210 is about. And our kids bought in. And we have some really mad kids that didn't get the number they wanted. But I told them they got a chance next year, come back and earn that number. So it's a heck of an idea by Coach Rule, and that's why Baylor's so tough and y'all play so physical because of that culture.
Not that it's not the same way or a similar way in other states. I'm from Florida. It's, they have great high school football there, but the coaching fraternity is not like it is in Texas. Not things like that. That's of the times we've had you on, you always mention about being a high school football coach, even though that's not been your job for several years now. Is that something that is just unique to Texas that you always wear as a badge of honor because of what that really means in the state?
There's no doubt, because I know what that fraternity is really about. I know what the organization is really about. That's something that's taught to us at a very young age. We understand the life impact we have on children, and the football is nothing more than a carrot, just to make kids behave, make them go to class, make them be on time, make them be respectful. And if they don't, you take the ball away. And when kids don't get the ball, they want to behave. And, it's just a great life skill. And that's why in Texas, you're going to always see football such a huge deal, because the fathers, the grandfathers, the great-grandfathers, everybody understands what football does to a community, what it does for life skills, the band, the cheerleaders, you name it, the choir, everybody that's there. It's just the only time we don't talk about race. We don't care where you came from, what color you are. We just want the team to win. Nobody cares. When some kid scores a touchdown, everybody's happy. Nobody cares what color he is or where he's from. And there's nothing like it in the whole country. And I'm extremely proud to come from the THSCA.
What's interesting is, and I know you got to go, Frank Harris, your quarterback, we watched him last year early when they played Baylor, and they were overmatched, no question. It's great to see. Isn't that one of the great thrills in coaching, is watching, even though you weren't at the program a year ago, watching a young man develop right in front of your eyes in the end?
Especially if you knew the kind of person he is. He had the ACL in high school. He had the ACL in college. He had the shoulder in college. The kid's gone through 3 recoveries, 3 rehabs, and he's just an amazing human. Him and Rashad got the most votes on the team. They're both wearing 0. And once again, you got 2 San Antonio kids, and I'm honored and blessed to get to coach those kids. And he's a great story, and I'm rooting for him as everybody is in San Antonio.
Coach, I have to ask this because this is probably going to date me, but certainly Smokey here. I'm a Tyler Lee grad, which I guess a Tyler Legacy grad now. Is Corey Mayfield Jr. the son of Corey Mayfield that was at Robert E. Lee?
He sure is. He's
Okay.
my starting corner. I've got no Malik, Tyler Legacy as well. Played 36 snaps at linebacker for me Saturday. So we're well represented from the old 903.
Yeah, and of course Beaumont area, they love the 409. So you picked up on that as well. Corey Mayfield, one of the best high school linebackers. Derek Johnson, Corey Mayfield, among a couple of others that I ever saw. He played at Lee, went on to Oklahoma, played in the NFL a little bit. That's great lineage as well. Jeff, congratulations. Move on, keep going, stay focused. Appreciate your time.
I appreciate what y'all do for all of us, man. Y'all do it right, and if I never did help you guys, y'all holler.
Well, how's the bird feeder?
Carrie sent me today. She was out there. She filmed it and let me know that I got this blue jay that's really a bully. He shakes it all on the ground. But she thinks it's for the little birds to go down there and eat. She thinks he's a good guy. I think he's a bad guy. So, yeah, Care Bear sent me the video today. So they're doing great. Birds up now. Birds up.
All right. Thank you, buddy. I had to ask. That is Jeff Traylor, now the head coach at UT San Antonio, that dramatic win against Texas State, that I-35 rivalry. Appreciate his time. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Coach.
That was probably the best game of the weekend. If there's one I'm not thinking of at the moment, then please let us know.
Well,
but
I didn't watch, there were some games that were close that were just two average teams playing.
Yeah.
Or bad teams playing that just don't score a lot of points. That was a legit good game.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the games were meh.
Yeah, Oklahoma and Texas blowing people out, or you had some upsets in the Big 12, and then everybody else kind of took care of their business outside of the Big 12, quite frankly. But certainly two teams that are pretty evenly matched. There's some history there. There's some rivalry there. And they let it all out on this opening, I guess not technically the opening weekend, but the second weekend of the season. So, yeah, game of the week, and he has to be thrilled, and I'm sure exhausted after, going into overtime right out of the gates. And as he mentioned, it's been a weird journey to get here, but I would imagine that win's almost even a little bit extra special for anybody that won on opening weekend. Him, even more so. It's his first college win, etc. But for anybody that won this past weekend, I think you just got to take a big exhale and just go, whew.
Yeah.
We got there. We did it, and we got a game under our belts, and we got to win.
And normally you do make strides from game one to game two. Look what Arkansas State was able to do against Kansas State and how they got better from the first game to the second game. And it would happen, you'd think, if UT San Antonio can do that. SFA played a couple weeks ago against UTEP, got beaten in the last. You had a chance to take the lead late in the game through a pick and eventually lost. But you would think you'd get better after the first game because of just reps.
You'd think so. You wonder how much of an emotional layover there might be just because we witnessed that Friday night, and you see that on occasion with big games, and then the very next week, even if it's a big opponent coming up, you just, for whatever reason, can't get that energy or that emotion up to the level that it needs to be. So that'll be the challenge for Coach Traylor and his staff this week, which I'm sure they'll be up for. But, yeah, I guess that your concern is, man, we played multi-overtimes and went to the wire, and you're probably a little exhausted, but I'm sure they'll have some pep in their step by later in the week.
All right, so that's Jeff Traylor. 5:19. When we come back, we've discussed a lot of things: Baylor, Houston, college football, high school football. We need to chew on the Cowboys and what happened with them in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium. Is that right? It was called SoFi Stadium. Excuse me. And
it's almost. I mean,
many of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Mike McCarthy on the hot seat. You wanted someone to be aggressive, and he is, and you don't want Jason Garrett, and you get a guy that wants to go for it, whether the right play was called or the right. Give the Rams credit. They made the play. We'll come back and dissect the Cowboys and their opening loss to the Rams and what's next, and the injuries and how much. We'll let Paul kind of look at the depth chart with that. 254 339-1122 on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. And if you want to give us your feedback on the game, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, David Smoke, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Are you in the market for a new home, or are you trying to sell the one you're living in right now, upsizing, downsizing, whatever you need? You need to call my good friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. Let them be your go-to source as you search for that perfect home. Give Lance a call, 254-214-3713, or visit his webpage for the most current listings, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com. When you're buying a house, there are things you know you want, you think things you know you need, and then there's some things that you don't even think you haven't even thought about that you might want, or it might be perfect for you. Well, that's what a realtor like Lance can do for you. He's going to hear everything you have, he's going to take that all in, and he's going to find you that dream home. 254-214-3713 or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Hey, it's time to stretch your legs. Jeep Adventure Days are here at Allen Samuels. Get special financing on the granddaddy of Jeeps, Jeep Gladiator. Now at 3.9 for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Grab hold of Jeep's rugged subcompact, Jeep Renegade with 0% for 72. No payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $5,750 in cash. Let's get going with amazing deals from your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
We'll get to the Cowboys in a minute. One other high school note. I mentioned this a few weeks back. I was asked to be a part of this UIL 100. It's not ranking 1 to 100 the greatest players in Texas high school football history or the rivalries or the teams. Dangerfield 83 would be my number one team. I guess there's all sorts of debate forever, or Earl Campbell, perhaps the number one high school player of all time. But there's a lot of guys that were good for 4 years. And then rivalries, there's a bunch of those as well. But that's being released now. There'll be like 10 each week, 10 players, 10 rivalries, 10 teams or whatever over the next 10 weeks or so. And there will be some representation in the Central Texas area. It just all depends on where you're at, where, in fact, your teams are or players or rivalries are mentioned. So stay tuned for that as well. Now, the injuries to Van Der Esch, the injury to Jarwin, the injury even to Cam Irving. Lyle Collins is out for another couple of weeks, so is Sean Lee. How do they replace Blake Jarwin?
Well, I mean, right now it's going to be about Dalton Schultz and Blake Bell moving up a step on the depth chart. They have a kid named Sean McKeon, who's on the roster, a rookie from Michigan, but again, undrafted in 2020, so that's something they have to deal with. I would think that, I don't know if that'll happen this week, but I think eventually, since Jarwin's out for the year, they're going to have to go sign somebody. Now, there are some names that are recognizable, like Charles Clay, formerly with the Dolphins, Bills, Cardinals. He's 31. Delaney Walker was an excellent tight end in Tennessee for a good long time, but he's 36, and they're both available. It makes sense for them to go try to get a guy like that, but especially since they don't really have a receiving threat at tight end now, because that's not what Dalton Schultz is. We saw last night, Dak was 1 of 4 in his targets to him. One was a little bit wide, but the other two were drops. He made one nice catch, but you can't have that kind of, where's the security blanket for Dak Prescott? Now it's going to put more on, Tony Pollard and on Zeke Elliott to catch those balls out of the backfield. So they have to fix that in a hurry.
Jarwin, to me, is sneaky good. Sneaky, like he covers a lot of ground, and it looks like he might not be doing that, and yet he's 15 yards down the field. Greg, what were your thoughts on watching the Cowboys and just kind of paying attention to what's going on?
It wasn't the best day for Dak. I don't think it's deserving of being piled on and being the blame for losing that game. I was ultimately just, kind of disappointed and overall because of the fact that we did go into the season with so much hype and so much of, man, they're loaded and this and that, and then you walk out and it's a loss and it's a bunch of injuries. It's just kind of like, geez, as far as the first game of the season, it's about as bad as it could have gone, given, certainly other players might be of more importance, but you're losing pieces where you're not really, really in a good amount of shape to lose a lot of pieces. I mean, the tight end question now is a major question mark, and sure, there's guys out there in the market that could potentially go get, but this O-line, like I was saying earlier, I wasn't as concerned about it as you guys were, but now they've added up. Now these injuries have added up, and this is a concern, and so you can have all the great tools and the weapons in the backfield and things that you want, but ultimately, you got to have the guys blocking out front, and right now it doesn't appear that they have that to the extent that we thought they would. So that's going to be something to watch for sure, how they fill these roles. I saw an article where they're throwing out names like Michael Kendricks, to replace Van Der Esch, but he's like 29 years old. He's been injured. He's also got the legal stuff that was going on. They threw out some tight end names as well in a piece I read, and I mean, they're all fine options, but they're not Blake Jarwin, and they're not what you had. So they gotta fix the O-line, that's for sure. I'm not as out of sorts about the play calling or some of the decisions last night as others are. I think that's just a product of it's the Cowboys, you're first time head coach of the team, and there's not a lot of room for error, especially when you lose in your opener. So I'm not as critical last night on some of the things that I saw as a lot of Cowboys fans were. It's a long road, and we'll see how they bounce back in week number 2.
Yeah, I mean, they can go sign, like, everybody wants to, go sign Earl Thomas and go, because look, and go sign this guy and that guy. And look, Earl Thomas, nobody else is in on Earl Thomas. It's not like, this was a thing where he kind of Jamal Adams his way out the door in New York. I mean, he had problems in Baltimore. He wound up punching a teammate in the face. He wasn't playing really well at the end of last year. The Ravens cut him without batting an eye, and nobody else has been in on him. This is, and the guys who they could go sign, it's not like there's some grand conspiracy like there was with Colin Kaepernick against all these guys. It's just they're older, they're ineffective. You saw the last ones. Nobody they bring in is probably going to be like, some kind of godsend. They don't really need that, especially at tight end. They don't need somebody who's going to come in and be Jason Witten 10 years ago. They need somebody who's going to come in and, catch a 3rd and 7 sometimes. That's what they need, and that's what they don't have on the roster right now, unless Blake Bell's got some soft hands that we don't know about.
Yeah, why the Rams 2 years ago embarrassed them in a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Just ran through them like it was Play-Doh. And then last year, Dallas dominated them. And obviously, Aaron Donald on the other side is just a beast. And some of the videos of him and what he did. He one time ran through Connor Williams, who did as well as he could, and then took his left hand and all but launched Zeke Elliott into Dak.
Yeah.
It was frighteningly powerful. But the run defense, the Rams, this is what we're going to do. They do that. And it keeps the Cowboys' weapons off the field. That cannot be that's a problem.
No.
If that's going to be who they are. I know they have some injuries.
Don Terry Poe, they drafted Tristan Hill last year. They drafted Neville Gallimore this year. They still have Antoine Woods. Those guys got beat up straight up the middle. They weren't running like a lot of the runs weren't, you're not going to run to the outside on the Cowboys when you've got DeMarcus Lawrence and Everson Griffin and Aldon Smith out there. Those guys are good players. So you're not going to run out there that much, but up the middle was really where they made their money running the ball last night. And, Don Terry Poe and those guys, they didn't have a great night. Now, I will say this. I did mention Aldon Smith. For a guy who hadn't played in 5 years, it certainly didn't look like it last night.
Yeah, I was going to say, he looked pretty good.
So he looked pretty good. So.
Yeah, he did. He looked really good. In fact, he was really good. And that's good. And yet, still, they had some of the guys. Who are the newcomers? CeeDee Lamb, the one route that was stopped by a great play by the safety by the Rams. He could go another yard. He could have gone another yard. Yeah, he could have gone another yard. And even the tackle, boom, boom, you're going to get the mark on the first down. But there was another play. He was running free, and they got him. So I would think for a rookie debut, I don't expect Jerry Rice right off the top here. But if Dak doesn't have time to throw, which he was pressured a lot, 3rd down conversions were a problem.
Yeah.
And I thought I saw a Babe Laufenberg mention about Dallas in 3rd down conversions, like 14% of their 3rd down conversions, and they gave up like 38%. I don't care who you are.
Nope.
So, what did you guys think of them being down 20-17? They've got 3rd and 6. They decided to call a running play on 3rd and 6, which I know was something that a lot of people reacted to very, very quickly, especially when then result in not working, and then not trying to kick the field goal to tie the game up.
I like that he's aggressive. I just think that in that moment with that situation, I know that you're like. There's some analytics charts that'll tell you to, in that yard marker at that time, go for it and try to get the win and put the pressure on them, take the lead. But I would think that's if your defense is playing better than theirs was.
Yeah.
Because the Rams didn't score in the fourth quarter at all. They didn't score at all in the fourth quarter, but they sure ate up a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
And at best, the Cowboys were not getting a 3 and out. They were getting, 6 and outs, or they created some turnovers last night, which is again fine, but what'd you do about it?
We were a yard away from CeeDee. If CeeDee Lamb runs a yard further, that's a brilliant play call, and everybody's going crazy over it today. That's what I think is so funny about the reactions last night is atrocious decision and blah blah blah, and it's you are a yard away from praising the heck out of that man. And I know that's just the way that it goes, but
if Jason Garrett had been there and kicked the field goal and made it or missed it and they lost. Why can't we have somebody who's more aggressive?
Yeah, why does Garrett have no balls or whatever?
It's a perfect double standard of a fan's feedback.
Yeah, so I was just curious what y'all thought about that decision.
By the way, Mike McCarthy's doing his press conference right now, and on the Gallup pass interference.
That was my next question.
It made me sick when I watched the TV copy.
Yeah,
I think some of that's hyperbolic because if you watch a lot of the stills, his arm is fully out.
Yeah.
You can see why they called it. Was it a little ticky tack? And
if let's put it this way, had Jalen Ramsey been the receiver, and Michael Gallup was the defender, you don't make that call. It's a little protectionism. Jalen Ramsey, first of all, I thought it was ballsy that they threw at him. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Gallup just seems to make big plays. I still think he's as good. Cooper makes every catch, it seemed like, but I still think Michael Gallup is fine as a guy that could get, he seems to be as much of a big play guy as who they have in the receiving game. And they've got a number one pick, and they got another number one pick in Cooper.
Well, if you watch him, if you watch all three of their receivers, they don't have guys that are, back when, the Cowboys were at their zenith in the 90s, they had Michael Irvin, who was your, big play, first down receiver, who was, that was your go-to guy. And then they had Alvin Harper, for the best of it, they had Alvin Harper who would just take the top off the defense. But that was really all Alvin Harper did. That was his thing. He was, Jay Novacek's got underneath. Michael Irvin's got wherever we want him to go. I'm going to take the top off this defense because everybody's worried about everything else, and I'm going to make a play. The three receivers they have right now are all very multiple in what they can do. They can line them up anywhere on the field, and
they all have great hands.
Yeah,
they're physical. They have great hands. Here's from Greg Rosenthal, NFL.com. A couple of notes, by the way. They mentioned the Cowboys' injuries. Patriots' offense will be as funky as you wanted it to be, and they made it work with Cam Newton running the ball. He looks healthy. Teddy Bridgewater, I thought from Matt Rule's team, I thought that they offensively put up 30 points but lost. Josh Jacobs with the Raiders, 2 rushing touchdowns.
Nope, 3.
3 rushing touchdowns. He also caught a pass for a few yards, had 139 yards from scrimmage. That'll make someone happy on their fantasy team.
I had Josh Jacobs in the only fantasy league I won this. Well, I have the guy I'm playing has a bunch of people tonight, but he's not coming.
Seattle goes with just firing the ball all over the field with Russell Wilson put up huge numbers. There's a video or 2 or 5 of Aaron Donald and what he does. And, sometimes you just, okay, he's good. And then you see it when he's highlighted, like focused in on what he does. He is a wrecking machine. He plays 100% on every single snap. I know that sounds, well, you should, you're getting paid. No, it's hard to do that. He is amazing.
Yeah, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, he's the best defensive player in the NFL, and there can be an argument made from time to time for others, but not much of one. I mean, he's the dude. And
who was the best team you saw yesterday of anyone? If you saw highlight shows, if you watched a little bit of the games, who was the best team you saw in the NFL?
The Jaguars. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
They won. Redskins. You're going to have some of those first week. I thought the Saints looked really good.
Yeah.
Again, Brady threw a couple of bad throws. One was on him, and the other one was just a bad throw behind Gronk on the sideline, pick 6. I thought the Saints looked really like really good. It's just the first of 16 games.
Mine was more or less like just takeaways from certain plays or players as opposed to mostly just like determinations even early on teams. But, you have a little bit of optimism for the Washington football team, whereas maybe you didn't. And maybe you're second-guessing the Eagles just a little bit so long as their O-line's in flux. I mean, the Browns are the same old Browns. They are already in big trouble, and Baker Mayfield did not look very good. And you start to kind of wonder of, like, how long is that experiment going to play out with Baker being the guy before they start wanting his head to roll too, because, he's just not maybe performed up to snuff. So I think it's just kind of crushing that if you're a Browns fan, you've got this optimism once again, and right out of the gates, it's just crushed. But Seattle looked really, really good. The Bucs, Brady scores early on, and it felt like, all right, here's the party's in town now, and this party's getting ready to take off, and, not so much. So, even with all the offseason additions, that doesn't guarantee anything, but they were the sexy team for everybody to get excited about, and now they're 0-1, and I'm not thinking that they're going to be a bad team by any means, but just because you get Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and you get guys who have been in Super Bowls doesn't mean you're automatically going to be there yourself. They got a lot of work to do there in Tampa. It was cool to see Joe Burrow get his first touchdown. Really fun little run. Set up his offensive lineman. He set up the block really, really well. He set up his lineman for the block really well. and showed a lot of good patience. And
Baltimore Ravens,
the Ravens looked great. Now, granted, again, who they were playing, but still, yeah, that was a great win for the Raiders. Brutal loss for Matt Rule in game number 1, and just kind of observations like that. But yeah, Baltimore looked really good. Seattle looked really good.
The top two from Rosenthal were the injuries, the Cowboys in that loss. And then also Aldon Smith looks like the best of the free agent signings, at least in the offseason, because he is a steal at just $2 million a year if he can remain like that week in and week out. The worst of the injuries, Indianapolis lost Marlon Mack. I think Phillip Rivers put up big numbers again.
Yeah, but they lost. I mean,
Packers lost Lane Taylor, offensive lineman.
That was pretty brutal for Indianapolis. I mean, you don't think that you're going to open up the season, and you got Phillip Rivers now at quarterback, and got good running backs and all that, and there's just Jacksonville, who everybody just assumed was going to be tanking this year, but not so much. I mean, not if you go out and win your first game. You're not doing a very good job of tanking. So good win for the Jaguars, although I don't know how long it will hold up.
Well, every Monday, and I'm working on a couple of things that start next week that they just couldn't do because of schedule. Every Monday we'll be able to have someone who analyzes the Cowboys other than us, and then also be able to get your feedback. We're going to have, I'd like to do in the 5 o'clock hour, based on guests around 5:30, just rapid-fire conversation, even in the 3 o'clock hour if we can. Rapid-fire conversation with the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, Willis Law Firm, a couple of things from that in a moment, and also your phone calls off the top of the show as well in that 3 o'clock hour. From Trey 3216, very excited about playing Houston. Sad we have to wait another week, but sometimes patience pays off in big ways. Rufus G, this is on the Willis Law Firm chat room. Definitely excited about picking up the Cougs for Saturday. Pissed off my schedule isn't flexible. I can't be there, but I'm ready for Baylor football for sure. So those are a couple of responses from people. Now, Carl Campbell put this up. Sean McVay openly defied all the COVID precautions by not wearing his face mask. He went over even and tried to get close to a referee to talk to him. The NFL sent out notes. Hey, we watched the first weekend. We got to do better.
Yeah.
Matt Rule said, it was interesting. He couldn't quite communicate the way you thought. And then also I saw where, in fact, Rule said he might go to the Andy Reid shield because you could still talk on your microphone or your headset better.
I was watching a post-game show, college football post-game show on Saturday, and it was for a particular team. And now, granted, their media guys who were doing this post-game show were still in the press box at that point, but they were wearing masks, and it's just like, I can't understand what you're saying. Like, I don't, like, I can, but I can't, if that makes sense. So, yeah, that does not make good for good radio or good television. It doesn't make really for great communication in general, and that's something that we're all kind of adjusting to, is talking through these masks and hearing muffled speech repeated back to us. So if you're in the heat of battle and you've got a lot of outside noise, not as much as you would normally have, but still enough, you got a whole team on the sidelines, you got some people in the stands, what have you, I can see where that mask would definitely be a problem in trying to communicate. So, yeah, maybe we'll see him with that windshield that Andy Reid had.
Couple of other notes. It's 543 Sikkim 365 Radio. I saw where Mike Fisher mentioned at Fish Sports that, listen, your best play caller is your head coach. Maybe before it's too late, you need to remind yourself of that. And that's going to be second guessing as well.
That was one of the things coming out of last night that I was curious about, was hearing people's takes if they're already overreacting to one game on the play calling situation. But that is one thing when you've had a coach who's been known as a play caller and he comes in and he's not calling the plays, apparently. That's kind of curious, and I remember a lot of people sort of second-guessing or being curious about that when it was announced, that Kellen Moore would be calling plays. But, after last night, that is something that, as a result of him doing that, as a result of him putting plays in the hands of someone else, he's going to be second-guessed anytime they lose, or anytime a call's made that's not going to work, that doesn't end up working out for them.
And I would think it'd be a bad look if he just wrestled it back away so quickly.
Right.
Steelers and Giants tonight, right?
Yeah, there's two games.
Couple games.
That's right. There's always two on the first. Now, let me go through.
Steelers and Giants starting a half hour.
You guys respond as you want. We do this. Okay. Leighton Vander Esch out. We've discussed that. Also, Blake Jarwin out. We've discussed that. And then, of course, the Cam Irving.
Tennessee and Denver's.
Stephen Jones, no Earl Thomas. We're trying to focus on our guys we have in the building right now. You yes or no believe it?
Yes.
Yeah. They could have already done it.
Yeah.
Jamon Osborne has opted out at A&M. That's a stun. That's got to stun them.
Is Cowboys is safety the first position you're thinking of after last night as far as what they need to go get?
I do think that Darian Thompson played probably the worst game of any Cowboy on the team.
Fair.
But I don't think that means that you just go and
Okay. Yeah.
Well, Osmond, I'm still a little bit surprised by that.
You miss what's his name?
Jeff Heath. Well, people like to crap all over Jeff Heath.
I know.
But he was a steady player.
He was steady.
The Osmond thing was surprising, but, good luck to him.
High school football, wanted to note, Ricky Sargent of Hearn sent me an email yesterday that they're going to play Hardin this week at 6:30. That's one of the games that they had somebody cancel. Most winning seasons of the last 50 years in the NFL. I could sit here maybe for all day because I would never have gotten this right. I would have gotten maybe 3 or 4 of the teams. Most winning seasons in the National Football League the last 50 years. Name who's top of the list.
How many years?
50.
50.
The Patriots.
So you're talking about going back forever. Okay,
The Patriots.
They are second.
Ravens. Oh, no, 50 years. Shoot.
No, they
That
wouldn't
won't
even
be
be the
good.
Browns, yeah.
If it was like the last 10, that'd be a guarantee.
Packers.
Yeah.
Not in the top 5. And I'm a little bit
Giants.
like I sat there and
That's
I
who I
want
was thinking of. Yeah.
not in the top 5. 254-339-1122 if you want to get us on the text line as well.
50 years.
The last 50, you're talking about 1970.
You said Steelers, right?
Steelers are someone said the Patriots.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Steelers, you said Steelers?
Yeah.
They're top at 36. The last 50 years.
The Chiefs.
Nope.
I mean, are the Cowboys on there?
No, that surprised me because if you think about it, 1970, in 74 they had a winning season, but they didn't make the playoffs. They didn't have a problem until sometime in the late to mid 80s, late 80s. Yes, they had 1-11, then 7-9 or 5-11. They had a couple of 3 teams in there. But out of the last 50, then you have the Campos 3 times.
But you have a bunch of 8 and 8s in there.
There you go.
You have a
There
bunch
you
of
go.
8 and 8s.
So you have Steelers 36, Patriots 34. There's 3 more teams at 33, 31, and 30. But I thought Dallas would fit in there at somewhere around 30, 32.
50 years. I'm trying to think.
Oh, we're still guessing. Okay.
Here's an interesting team that has not really been relevant the last several years, but they had the great run in the 70s, and they've had the Dolphins.
Dolphins. Okay. Yeah. Well, they haven't been relevant for 20 years.
The Vikings.
Yeah, that was me my next
Always
one, yeah.
good, but never good enough.
Yeah.
And let me go to the text line real quick because we just got one of those. 49ers, no. Other than they had Bill Walsh and Seifert, and then they had a lot of problems. The Eagles.
Oh, okay.
At 33. They've always been kind of like the Vikings, except finally 2 years ago they cashed in.
Well, I bet Philadelphia Sports Radio was interesting today with
Oh,
that
Lordy.
loss yesterday.
He will not survive the month.
I have to say I was very impressed by Dwayne Haskins, not as a player, but as a leader yesterday, because apparently in the course of that game, I think it was like halftime, he made a speech to the team. And I have my doubts about Dwayne Haskins just as far as, as a player, if he's going to be good enough soon enough to be that dude, to be the guy. And they've set it up really well for him. I mean, he could definitely use some more help at some of the skill positions, but they've got some really good young players at back and wide receiver. They've obviously got a really good defensive line and potentially just good defense in general. But Haskins apparently made a little speech to the team and said, remember last year, who were they playing? They were up big, and I need you to remember this, Smokey, who they were playing last year. They had a big lead. And
and then some people criticized him, right? I don't know who the team was.
Well, I mean, the point was they were playing somebody last year. They had a big lead. They gave up the lead. And so his message to the team was, hey, remember the game last year? We were up big, and we let the lead go. Well, we're down big right now. Who's to say we can't go win this game? And so that was his message, and then that's what they went and did. And so they still got questions offensively. They still got questions about him, but
he looked
leadership-wise,
a lot better, though. He looked like he knew at least where he was supposed to go with the ball.
He looked better. He's just not going to be like a big-time quarterback right now, but he can potentially be that over time. But as a leader, I think he showed a lot yesterday that gives you a lot of confidence if you're a Washington fan.
All right, one thing, this is from Chuck Cooperstein. I mentioned this as well. One thing we can conclude from today on the NFL, never, ever again should we see something called preseason football. These games were no different than when we've seen opening day in the past few years, minus lack of fans. I put that up on Twitter, and the response was about 50-50. Some was concerns about being sloppy or penalties or whatever. Did you really notice, considering there wasn't a single preseason game played, was there really much difference? I thought the games were crisp.
You know what it looked like to me? It looked like last year's first game where you know what I did notice though across, because I watched a lot of games. You know, I've got the ticket here, so I watched a lot of them. I think who needs the preseason? It's not the players really. They could use maybe a game or so, but the officials do.
But if they did, but if they had a game or two, you're still going to play that. Well, let's play this one, and the next one's a waste of time for the fans.
So again, it's not.
All right. Craig, what did you think?
I thought, it was a little bit rusty, but I considered that was going to be the case going in. I mean, I wasn't expecting perfect football in week number 1 with no preseason. So, I think it was good for what it was. Certainly a little bit rusty here and there. But, again, I expected that.
All right. B.J. Foster has kind of been up and down a little bit emotionally with Texas. He quit the team. He quit the team in the third quarter in the game against UTEP, and he then shows up for a noon lifting session yesterday, and Tom Herman said, no, we're good. We'll handle the discipline in-house. And there were some fans, and like, hey, the hell with that. But he's back, and he's a 5-star talent, right? Great player, great talent. But he seems to have some ups and downs.
He was a highly rated recruit that's been okay. He's by no means like off to the NFL right away. But I'd have a hard time, I'm sure his teammates feel differently because they know him personally. So it's kind of weird having an outside opinion on a guy I don't know like that. But you're quitting my team mid-game. You're gone, buddy. You're not like coming crawling back the next day and pretending like nothing ever happened. I mean, you stormed off mid-game because of playing time. Yeah,
that's like to me, he can't play. There's a suspension there somewhere.
There should be, and maybe there will be. And if there is, then okay, cool. But this is the same kid who got mad about a little car accident he was in. He hit his car, fractured his, his hand or arm or whatever, and missed time because of that. And just came in with a lot of hype, and this is what happens to guys with a lot of hype sometimes.
Here's what Tom Herman said today when we had break. BJ let his emotions get the best of him. No kidding. He was contrite and apologetic. He should have been. We'll handle the discipline in-house. He'll serve his penance internally and move on from there. We'll see what happens. By the way, this is from a UT grad on 254. Tell B.J. Foster to GTFO. Don't need him. Not stable enough when it matters. Thanks for the feedback from the 254. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate
Let's
that
break.
comment.
We'll be back in a moment. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store with what you need, including even pre-cooked meals from Texas lasagna to sriracha potato salad to fried chicken salad to even, like, for example, they have beef tips on rice or chicken spaghetti. Waco Custom Marketplace every week has something special when it comes to a family box or any kind of sample boxes, whether it's beef or sausage, poultry or seafood, and a little bit of everything else in between. Like, for example, the family box, $70. 1 pound of ground beef, 5 pounds, 6-ounce chicken breast, 5 pounds of bone-in pork chops, and 5 pounds of sirloin steaks. It's kind of a combination of what you need. And even on top of that, they have tailgating, customized packages. Let's say you want to tailgate this week. I know McLean Stadium around on the Baylor part of the stadium outskirts is out. But Brazos Parking will be tailgating. It'll be a hell of a crowd. We'll be there with our pregame as well. But you want to do something with tri-tip or brisket or sausage, and they have all sorts of combination of smoked sausage, chicken breast, and chicken wings, whatever you want. You can get that done. Contact Waco Custom Marketplace. You could call them or go online, wacocustommarketplace.com. And if you want personally to have your own specific customized cut steaks, fillets or ribeyes, bone-in ribeyes or what, they can do that as well. The bakery with all the desserts, all the sweets you'd want as well, and kolaches every single morning waiting for you to devour. Waco Custom Marketplace with cold beer and wine as well. 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingram with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, real quickly as we close it out tonight, NFL, Steelers and Giants, Titans and Broncos. Also, the Cowboys opened the year with a loss to the Rams. That means that McCarthy, Landry, Johnson, Parcells have all started out with a loss. Also, the Cowboys have started 0-1 in 03, 06, 14 and 16 and still made the playoffs. But the percentages go from winning the first game, which is like 60% make the playoffs, to 28 if you don't. Stars tonight, Game 5 against Vegas. Game 5, they can wrap it up tonight. They are the better team in this series.
Yeah, they have been so far. That was a thrilling victory the other night, and they could very well, like you said, close it on out tonight with a 4-1 series. So we'll see if they can do that. Vegas looked a little, I don't know, you were making the comment the other night about just their shots weren't very.
They just seemed like there was never anything crisp or doom.
There was never a real threat, I guess. Yeah, and it was a little out of whack feeling, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Vegas' back is up against the wall tonight. Stars could move on to the next round, which would be huge for them. And there's no Rangers tonight. There's no Astros tonight either. Both of those teams come back on Tuesday against each other. So that's coming up next for baseball. Not that around here we pay too much attention, because there hasn't been a whole lot of good to pay attention to as far as the Rangers in particular. But, yeah, they'll be back tomorrow in a series against each other. And then NBA tonight, there's nothing going on because a lot of these series have now been wrapped up. So the Eastern Conference Finals will get started on Tuesday, and the West will be decided in the semis between the Clippers and the Nuggets.
By the way, if you want to go to any of these go to Bruce Arians' press conference. He really basically comes out and says, I was really surprised by Tom Brady's struggles, and he talks about certain throws that weren't made. One quick note, the NFL Week 1, the debut of the Brady against the Saints, their best Fox Sports best metered marketing rating since 2016. Projects to rank as the most watched game since Super Bowl 54 based on the first week of the year, which, of course, people are thirsty for the NFL. Some